Just ahead on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a woman is dead after a crash on the border of West Haven. Weber County police say a car with 2 women and an infant was turning left when they were struck by an SUV. All other passengers are in good condition. The Utah Senate passed a revised bill that deals with removing some books from school shelves. Under this bill, if 3 school districts or 2 school districts and 5 charter schools vote to remove a book with indecent material, it then gets
3 school districts, if they were 3 small school districts, could be a very small representation of the state.
Senator Kathleen Reeby says lawmakers came to a compromise. The bill now heads back to the House. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House says it will announce more sanctions on Russia this week.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the sanctions package on Russia will be, quote, substantial and is timed to coincide with the 2-year anniversary of the start of Russia's war against Ukraine.
We have worked persistently and diligently to identify, to continue to impose costs for what Russia has done, for what it's done to Navalny, for what it's done to Ukraine, and for the threat that it represents to international peace and security.
Sullivan told reporters Tuesday the administration believes the sanctions will have an impact. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is off 81 points. That's 0.2%. We're at 38,482. Coming up, we've got rain in the forecast for today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
For John's 60th birthday, his family planned to drive down Old Route 66. But the trip took a detour when his wife got sick with RSV. It's a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems and hospitalizations.
This year, we don't want to cancel our plans. We're protecting ourselves with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine.
Abrysvo, a vaccine to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. It's not for everyone and may not protect all who receive it. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had an allergic reaction to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may decrease your response. Most common side effects are tiredness, headache, injection site pain, and muscle pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
Do you hear that? If you're like many people, that's the sound of your money. Just lying there in a checking or savings account doing nothing, when it could be out there earning more money for you. But at America First Credit Union, we can give your money a wake-up call.
What? What's that?
Rise and shine, Bucky. We can get your money working in a high-yield certificate account, earning you a much better return than traditional checking and savings. Up and at 'em, buddy. We gotta go.
Huh? Where are we going?
To America First. You'll love it there. They're gonna help you do so much awesome stuff.
All right, I'm coming.
So get your money working with a high-yield certificate from America First. Head to americafirst.com today to check out the latest amazing rates. Subject to membership, eligibility, terms, conditions, and change. Federally insured by NCUA.
2 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a crisis unfolded at the Kabul airport.
There's desperation and anguish.
More than 80,000 Afghans have since arrived in America, but this story is still unfolding. I'm Andrea Smartin. In my new podcast, Stranger Becomes Neighbor, we'll find out what happens to these new arrivals in our communities. Who would help our newest neighbors? Follow us at kslpodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, most of our traffic is on the I-15 corridor, and we still have slowdowns northbound coming out of Utah County around the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway. Part of that was due to an earlier crash that's now cleared. And we do have crashes up in Weber County where we have a lot of rain and fog, reducing your visibility. There's one southbound 15 near Willard Bay and northbound right as you get into Pleasant View. And chains four-wheel drive still required in Sardine, Big, and Little Cottonwood Canyons. The 9th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo, March 1st and 2nd at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Over $40,000 in giveaway prizes. Kids 12 and under free. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have more rain in the forecast for today. Highs in the 40s. Looks like skies will clear up tomorrow. Right now it's cloudy and 40 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Folks, we are in new territory for Utah. We have a 9-year-old who's arrested in Tooele. And we have some laws here in the state regarding how old kids have to be before they can be held criminally responsible. This child does not fit the age. And so we now, like, what now? He's been arrested in connection with the shooting death of a 32-year-old family member. Neighbors have told KSL5 television that the family member, it's a father and son situation. So we have all kinds of questions. And as I said, a lot of new territory to cover this morning on this sad, sad story, Dave.
It's so unheard of. It's so devastating. I'm having a hard time processing this very fact that a 9-year-old has been arrested. I'm just devastated, but we will find out and peel back some layers. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, here are the 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
We're also going to head over to the Fair Park area and talk about that announcement, about the new baseball stadium. It happened back in April.
Friends and partners have joined together in a coalition to bring Major League Sports baseball to Utah.
And I really like this plan. We're gonna do it the Vegas way, baby. We're going to hash out some details about who's going to pay to build the stadium, and even better, not only who's going to build the stadium, but who's going to pay for it, how it's going to be paid for.
If I'm just going off the words of the governor, and this was said like in the same breath as, hey, we're going to bring Major League Baseball here, hopefully. He said, I don't think taxpayers should subsidize billionaires. We don't build stadiums. That's not what we do. Except this new bill kind of has us building a stadium, right? I'm just saying. So we've reached out to the governor. We want to know, okay, do you still feel so passionately about not subsidizing billionaires? Because this could be worth nearly $1 billion.
Countdown. 2.
Well, speaking of stadiums, the ballpark area, now we're going to head over to like 13 South and Main Street now, okay? It was certainly a trouble spot for crime in Salt Lake City for many, 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 many years. And now they've been a huge drop. We've actually talked to neighbors in the community about this.
We've noticed a palpable change. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for our Salt Lake City police officers.
All right. So when I first heard this, I thought, okay, is it just dumb luck? Did Salt Lake Police Department do something differently?
Like, did they trip, stumble, and fall into solving crime?
Sometimes crimes just don't happen. The criminals took the week off, so the numbers went down. Police say, though, it was no mistake, and they're going to join us live on their new crime reduction strategy.
Launch countdown. 1.
We've had a new question pop up in this just absolutely tragic story out of Tooele regarding this 9-year-old who was arrested in connection with a shooting death investigation of a 32-year-old man in Tooele. And what popped up is our read of Utah law. When I was reviewing it, in the newsroom with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, Dave, just before the show. In Utah law, and Greg's read of it, says a 9-year-old cannot be held criminally responsible in the state. He's too young. Now, certainly the community is shook up. There's lots of things we don't know yet about this case. And police have even told us, we are proceeding with extreme caution. He is 9. This is new territory.
You know, a situation like this where you have one family member potentially being killed by another, you don't lose just that one family member, you lose 2 family members.
Oh my goodness. Such a devastating story, but 9 years old is such a strange age to be having this. Obviously, this is unprecedented. But at 9 years old, you're not an infant, you're not a toddler. You're in 3rd grade. You know right from wrong. You know what a gun is, you know what a gun is used for, and how deadly it can be, how dangerous it can be. They're old enough to know this. But what does the law say? And can you hold them criminally responsible? Well, this 9-year-old has been arrested.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
I want to proceed with caution, too. There's a lot we do not know about this case. Is this new ground? This is new ground for you and I. It's new ground for KSL News Radio and our colleagues at KSL 5 Television who've been covering this. It is new ground for prosecutors, for police. And so here's what we know so far, okay? A man was shot in the head in Tooele on Friday night. Police arrive at the home, Dave. They get him to the hospital where he dies. Then we know that the 9-year-old was arrested in connection with the shooting. Now, from there, that's where things get really fuzzy. Why it happened. We don't know why. And what can happen or what cannot happen to this 9-year-old child under Utah law is another question we're seeking answers to.
And what information are we entitled to? The police have said there is no threat. There is no threat right now for, future anything, right? But so I understand the curiosity level is off the chart.
It's not about curiosity. A lot of this why will determine whether this child can be held responsible in juvenile court. So the why is also really important, and we'll get to more on that in just a moment. But what we do know so far is that Friday night, 7:30, Tooele PD officers dispatched to a 32-year-old man unconscious and bleeding from the head. That's the information they're responding to. Could be anything at that point.
Right.
So they get to the home, or the area, I should say, the area where they were dispatched to, and they find this man has been shot in the head. No specifics from what Tooele PD has released so far about what happened from there in terms of their investigation. So it goes from they arrive, they send this man to the hospital, then they begin investigating. And the next thing we hear about is they've arrested this 9-year-old family member of the man. And as of yesterday, police had told the media when we went out to the area that they weren't sure what led up to this, at least not yet.
In my 8-year career, I've never seen a situation like this. I know many officers who have been here for their entire career have never seen a situation like this involving, a homicide and potentially someone being so young being involved in it. So it's new for all of us, but it's something that we're looking into right now, and we're trying to determine what led up to this point.
When I first heard this story, my mind immediately went to an accident. Cleaning a gun, handling it, it was left out. The fact they're using words like homicide in connection with this.
We don't know how he got the gun. I think that's important to know. We don't have that information. Police also said in their brief news conference with the media yesterday that they wouldn't tell us if more than one shot was fired. They were holding that information back, at least for now. And I think what's most important in terms of the fate of what happens to this 9-year-old is the why. Why? is probably the most important component at this point regarding what his future holds in terms of the justice system. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas has been analyzing Utah law. And here's the twist. In our analysis, when he and I talked this morning, a 9-year-old is too young to be held criminally responsible under Utah law. We know this 9-year-old has been arrested. Let's ask Greg next to explain what could happen to a child in this situation.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
15 years ago, we were adding on to our home, and so I convinced Sean we should update the kitchen.
We did some research and we decided to go with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Their reputation was phenomenal. To design, do the construction and the finish work, what we wanted was what we got from start to finish. So fast forward 15 years, our family's changed. We've gotten bigger.
There just wasn't the space in the kitchen anymore. People were banging into each other.
We decided 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Here's the problem. What are our solutions? Comparing working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath 15 years ago, today, their ability to design what you want was the same.
Everything has been what I want.
The quality of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I think, is phenomenal. The countertops and the cabinets that they use are great. They were just good guys doing good work.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
On March 5th at 7 p.m., something extraordinary is happening in Utah. The Utah Republican Caucus. It's not just a meeting. It's a gathering of neighbors, friends, and like-minded people, united in the pursuit of a stronger state and nation. Come discuss the principles that Utah has and needs. Elect delegates that reflect the heartbeat of our communities. You'll help rescue our nation's future by voting for your preferred Republican presidential candidate. Registered Republicans, show up, be heard. Visit utgop.org to find your local caucus. Paid for by the Utah Republican Party.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest about what free means. You understand that we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Real Salt Lake opens their season tonight on the road against Inter Miami and their superstar Lionel Messi. Second, an 18-year-old and 3 minors got arrested in Miller County after highway patrol officers say they found 3,500 marijuana vape pen cartridges. Third, Utah could soon put heavier restrictions on how government uses or even sells your data. Right now it's 41 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
I was just grabbing my notes here, Dave, that I took this morning before the show about this twist. And this could be the first case of its kind in Utah of a 9-year-old, by the way, arrested in connection with a shooting death investigation of a 32-year-old family member. And as Greg Skordas and I, our legal analyst here at Broadcast House, of course, Greg's been a prosecutor for many years here in Utah. He's now a defense attorney. We were calling each other back and forth, and he was looking at the law, and he said, under Utah law, a 9-year-old cannot be held criminally responsible. So the law says anyone under the age of 14 cannot be held criminally responsible. We're going to talk to Greg in just a moment about, if that's the case under Utah law, then what is the fate of this 9-year-old in this shooting death in Tooele hold?
And I understand there's a level of privacy, and we want to be very sensitive to what is going on. Again, we're talking about a 9-year-old. But because we've been given so little information, we don't know any of the backstory. We don't know what led up to this. We don't know if the child is mentally challenged. We don't know if it was self-defense.
These are the things that are going through your mind.
Yeah. I mean, was it intentional? Was it vicious? Was he protecting someone? We don't know any of this because they're being so tight-lipped.
Good morning once again, Greg. Thanks so much for jumping on the air with us and our listeners once again. This is horrible. This is new territory. It's new territory for police, the press, for prosecutors. And imagine when I called you about it this morning, you were even shocked about the details I was giving you from what we knew.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Debbie, and you correctly indicated what the Utah law is. That is that a person cannot be held criminally responsible for conduct that occurs before their 14th birthday. Now, that does not mean that they cannot be adjudicated in the juvenile court, but juvenile court is not criminal court. And what happens in the juvenile court, Dave just sort of indicated, is private. It's usually protected from the public, although they have some ability to attend some hearings, and it couldn't result in any way, shape, or form with a criminal conviction or something that this boy will have to live with for the rest of his life. But that just assumes the worst. I mean, he may be completely justified in what he did, may have been an accidental discharge. We don't know the facts. But if it was something where it was like an intentional act, it still could not result in any criminal conduct here, criminal adjudication.
Now, Greg, the idea that a child fires a gun and hurts somebody, that is not unprecedented. That happens. So, what really changes for us is that police are looking at it. They're talking. They're using words like homicide.
Well, he was arrested.
He was arrested. So I would say that it's pretty clear that, to me at least, reading between the lines, that it wasn't an accident. At least police are not seeing it that way.
Right, and that's real troubling because we understand, and if you're a parent, you know that a 9-year-old certainly has a different mindset, a different idea of right and wrong than a 19-year-old. And so we treat them differently in our system. That's why you can't charge them criminally, because they just don't have that kind of maturity and development in their mental state to appreciate always the consequences of their conduct. I know some people are probably rolling their eyes right now, but really there's probably no state in the country that would allow for a 9-year-old to be prosecuted criminally. It just doesn't happen. That being said, the question always remains now, what do you do? What do you do with a 9-year-old? Well, he can be adjudicated in the juvenile court. They can take him into custody, which they've done already, and perhaps even put him in some level of detention or secure confinement. But that'll end when he's 18 or maybe at the very, very most when he's 21.
If they even are able to proceed with anything, because, again, I want to be very conscientious that we don't know the why behind this. And to me, the why is a very critical component in this entire discussion about what happened. Right?
Right. It is the critical component,
Yeah,
and
it
that
is
is
the
what
thing.
was right. What was he thinking? What was going on? And why did he do this? If it was self-defense, there's no adjudication at all. If it was an intentional act, then let's figure out what the juvenile court can do to help this young man.
So, Greg, if a child or a minor is in detainment, some sort of 24-hour, confinement, what are the age ranges that we would see?
Well, he would certainly be on the very, very younger end of that. I mean, we don't even have 9-year-olds in our detention facility that you can think of. I mean, and it would be tough for a 9-year-old because there are, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and they could be a bad influence on him. They could be a problem for him. So it may be some secure care where he's mostly alone, or maybe even something like a home detention, ankle monitor, that type of thing. And we don't know. Or he may need some level of hospitalization given that age, and counseling that he might need. Who knows what's going on in his head right now, and what's going to be the best for him and for society.
We're speaking right now to KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas about the arrest of a 9-year-old in connection with an investigation into the shooting death of a 32-year-old man on Friday night. There is a lot we don't know about this case. We don't know how he got the gun. Police are not releasing how many bullets were fired. They are saying that they arrested the 9-year-old. And also police yesterday, Greg and Dave, you knew, Dave, when we were reporting this yesterday, that police wouldn't confirm a connect. They said it was a family member who was shot and who eventually died at the hospital. But it was KSL5 Television who gathered from the neighbors in the area that it's a father and son. So that adds a whole nother layer to this, Greg.
Oh, yeah, it does in a lot of realms, because you wonder what mom's doing. You wonder if there are siblings involved. You wonder what extended family there is, and what was going on with the father and the son. I mean, was the father in any way responsible for this in terms of being, abusive in some way? And I'm not suggesting that at all. Or did this kid just act out because he was, upset at something? I mean, we don't know. And the thing is about juvenile matters and juvenile courts, we may never know everything about this case because they are secret, they are private, and we guard the identity and sometimes even the background information of our juvenile offenders for a good reason, because we don't want something to carry throughout this young man's life. And so whatever happened here may not be well known by you or the public for a long time, if ever.
Greg, in part, the word sounds flippant, and I don't mean it, but I'm so curious or interested in these details is because I'm looking at the law that says anyone under 14 can't be held criminally responsible, and I'm trying to ask myself, 14 years old, that's an 8th grader. That is a pretty old. Certainly you could know what you're doing when you're committing a crime. So is 14 the appropriate age? I'm not saying 9 is the appropriate age, but I think part of the reason I'm interested in all these details and really understanding what's going on specifically is I think there's a conversation to be had. Is 14 the right age? Is it too old? Is it too young?
Right. And under Utah law, 18 is the right age. Under 14 is the wrong age. So then you got this 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds that we don't always know where they're going to end up. They can go into the adult system. They can be charged criminally, but typically they remain in the juvenile court. So 18, you're an adult. 13, you're not. 14 through 17, the court has to decide, and the prosecutors and everyone else has to decide whether or not you should be treated more like an adult or more like a child. And that depends on the nature of the crime, the maturity of the individual, prior criminal history, and whatnot.
Greg Skordas, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your analysis. This is a tough conversation. It is a first-of-kind conversation that I've had. I know many of us have had ever. Regarding the arrest of a 9-year-old after police arrived at an area in Tooele on Friday night and found that a 32-year-old man had a bullet to his head. What we haven't really taken a dive into yet, Dave, and we can later in the show, certainly, is the idea that this 9-year-old had access to a gun. How? You'd said earlier in the show, the first thing you thought of was maybe it was a hunting accident. Like they're cleaning guns after hunting. It was like, that would make sense. And then it'd be conceivable that a 9-year-old in that circumstance would have access to a gun. But to me, that adds yet another layer to this.
And I think that's part of what has our minds spinning right now, is there's so many unknowns.
Straight ahead, we're going to go back just a bit to this announcement.
Friends and partners have joined together in a coalition to bring Major League Sports baseball to Utah.
And I love what I just saw unveiled as a way to pay for a brand new baseball stadium in the Fair Park area. We're going a little Vegas, baby, on this one next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, an 18-year-old and 3 minors got arrested in Millard County, and highway patrol officers say they found drugs and weapons inside. That's according to court documents and the St. George News. These items include what officers called a large machete, some mushrooms, and 3,500 marijuana vape pen cartridges. On the low end, those cartridges alone could bring in $90,000. A new bill could put heavy restrictions on how the state government uses your personal data. It would block government agencies from selling data and require them to ask permission before using it. What's different about the bill is that it puts all state agencies under the same privacy standard. Utah's chief privacy officer says that does not exist at the national level. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Substitute teachers are becoming harder to find, and school districts across the country are warning parents and students of potential classroom disruptions.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, while demand has traditionally exceeded supply for substitute teachers, because of the pandemic, 20% of requests for fill-ins have gone unfilled. Many districts leaned on substitutes to help fill vacant teaching positions. Now, the pool of available subs shrinking for when teachers take off.
ABC's Morgan Norwood says the big reasons for the substitute shortage are the inconsistent scheduling and paychecks. Your money at this moment right now, the Dow is off 61 points. That's about 0.2%. We're at 38,502. Coming up, looks like we'll have clouds today and a chance of rain through this afternoon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The last thing you want in the morning is more noise.
The day's just getting started. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, and it's not even 8 yet.
So catching up on important news stories, some sense of weather and traffic, it shouldn't be stressful.
Get a wrap on the day ahead from smart, inviting voices who know you're trying to ease in.
Do you love a rainy day?
I do, actually.
I do too.
Tim and Amanda, mornings from 5 to 9. They have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Who hasn't had a bad bid? I think we all have an experience where they're like, oh, I feel this will cost $300. You're like $1,000 later. Like, what happened to the bid?
Yeah, well, you have to call Master Electrical because their upfront pricing guarantee means the price that they give you, the bid that they hand you before the job is the price you're going to pay at the end of the job.
And they call it the upfront pricing guarantee, and that's the key. It's upfront. You know, you can plan, you can make your decision and not get surprised with an upcharge or it costing way more. In fact, on the upcharge side, their pricing system simply won't allow it.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of surprises on my invoices. That's why Master Electrical is now in my contact list on my cell phone. They do everything that has to do with electrical. Lights, ceiling fans, smoke detectors, generators.
Yeah, batteries, EV chargers, you name it. Anything that has to do with electrical, they can take care of you from Logan to Santaquin.
And give them a call today, 801-543-2222, 801-543-2222.
Or online at masterelectrical.com.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma, smart communications for the smarter business.
Did you know COVID-19 vaccines have been updated this season? They're one of the best ways to help protect yourself against recent variants. And most people in the U.S. should continue to pay nothing out of pocket for COVID-19 vaccines. Uninsured or underinsured adults can receive them at no cost at participating Bridge program locations. And eligible children can receive them through the Vaccines for Children program at participating providers. For children, COVID-19 vaccines are at no cost, but there may be fees such as for the visit or administration. Book a vaccine option at schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Senate Bill 210 is a medical emergency at the Utah legislature. Ophthalmologists and optometrists are not the same. Optometrists don't complete medical school, no hospital internship, and no surgical residency. Ophthalmologists are medical doctors with years of surgical training on real patients. Now, optometrists want to perform surgery using lasers on the only eyes you'll ever have. Optometrists are not medical doctors, yet they want Senate Bill 210 to suddenly make them surgeons. Does that make sense to you? Your state legislator can help stop this nonsense by voting no. It takes years of training to make a surgeon. No bill can ever change that. Your legislator can help stop this nonsense. Tell your legislator to keep Utah eyes safe.
Paid for by the Utah Ophthalmology Society.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Not seeing any delays right now anywhere across the Wasatch Front on the major roadways, but we have a variety of weather conditions that are going to affect your drive. Utah and Salt Lake counties are dry for the most part on the roadways, but as you get into Weber, Davis, and Box Elder counties, you're going to have a combination of either rain or snow, and the higher elevations, it is snow-packed on Sardine Canyon all through Logan, and Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon also snow-covered. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner in life. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll get some more rain today, highs in the 40s. It looks like the skies will clear up a little bit tomorrow. Right now it's 41 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I do think it is the most significant sports announcement since the Olympics. When we brought the Olympics here in 2002. Could get them again. Utah wants a Major League Baseball team. And Gail Miller is working really hard to make that happen.
Our coalition called Big League Utah has registered our intent to have Utah's capital city considered as an expansion market with Major League Baseball. We know the league is considering expanding from 30 to 32 teams, a new one in the east and a new one in the west. Only makes sense that Utah is on deck to become that expansion team.
And since then, since that announcement back in April, some very good things have fallen in place for us. Okay, so the A's, there's two teams. And the reason we're talking about these two teams is because Major League Baseball said until the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays can figure out their stuff, we're not going to even look at expansion. And their stuff is largely, are you going to stay or are you going to move? So the A's looking like they're going to move to Vegas. Now, the A's are a disaster, so this could fall apart because everything the A's do is disastrous. They're just a poorly run franchise. But the Tampa Bay Rays, they just got a new stadium deal. They're worth over $1 billion, so they're staying put. So if the A's go to Vegas and the Rays are set, then expansion becomes a real priority for Major League Baseball.
And the Miller Group just announced this $3.5 billion deal or power district on the west side of I-15 near downtown. Okay, so like the North Temple area, there's the smokestacks there. That's what they're smokestacks? Yeah. There's the stacks. And then there's, some area around there that would probably have to be raised in order to...
Remitted.
Yeah. But then the question becomes, how do we pay for this? And we're doing a little late Las Vegas style. Adam Small in the newsroom has been looking over a new proposal just unveiled on Capitol Hill that could help pay for a ballpark?
Yeah, so Representative Ryan Wilcox has put forward a brand new bill. This was just introduced in the last few days. That it centers it kind of aligns with what the Miller Group put out last week. That huge $3.5 billion proposal to not only build a stadium but to completely transform the west side of Salt Lake City. That huge development. So Wilcox's bill wants to create a Fair Park Area Investment and Restoration District and put a government council over that district. But more importantly, it talks about some of the taxes that could go towards helping pay for this huge development, including a stadium.
Okay, so you said taxes. Utah is famous for we hate taxes. We want to give tax cuts. We don't want to raise taxes. But this would specifically be raising taxes to fund a stadium.
Right, and the only statewide tax in the bill text I've been able to find that actually, the only statewide tax that would be raised is the hotel tax, the room tax. And that tax is predominantly paid by people who are out of state visiting Utah. Tourists.
Okay,
yes.
Tourist tax.
So tourists would foot the bill for us to enjoy Major League Baseball. 80 home games, 90 home games? I love it.
81 games.
Love it. Okay, so how much are these tourists have to pay?
Well, right now the hotel room tax is only 0.32% in Utah.
Well, that's cheap.
Okay, so every time you rent a hotel, they're tacking on an additional 0.3%, and that's the tourist tax.
Bargain.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this bill would more than quintuple it to 1.92%.
Oh no. I don't know how people are going to afford that.
So for every $100 you spend, it's going to cost you $1.92. Okay.
So let's say I'm driving through Carbon County and I decide I need to stay at a hotel. I don't even know if there's a hotel in Carbon County.
Of course there is.
I mean, there's probably a Super 8, right?
Super 8,
there's a Super 8
sure.
everywhere you go, right? So they always leave the light on. So there's a light on there in Carbon County.
That's Motel 6.
Oh, okay, whatever. I don't know. I've seen lights on it in Super 8.
I'm Dan Bodette, and we'll leave the lights on for you. Dan Bodette? Something like that.
I know there's no way I'm going to make it to the Fair Park District in order to spend the night, so I got to stay out in Carbon County, and I have no intention of actually going to a baseball game. Am I still going to have to pay the hotel tax there, Adam? If it increases?
It sounds like a lot of those hotel fees will eventually go to help fund a new baseball stadium. But it is important to know that the hotel room tax, that's the only statewide tax that's kind of tied into this. The other taxes really are generated and revenue for this development really comes from around the stadium. I mean, you're talking about, for example, on line 46, provides state-owned land within the district boundary to be subject to a privilege tax. There's also enhanced property taxes in that area.
You kind of sped right through that first part about owned land in the district is privilege. What is that? Say that part again.
A privilege tax, and that's just what it says.
And it's state-owned property.
Right, state-owned land within that district. So we're talking about the land around the stadium. So we're talking about that area subject to a privilege tax. There's also tons of lines about property taxes. It implements potentially a bunch of taxes I've never even heard of until today.
There was one, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was, if we're talking statewide, that's that 2% tax that everyone is getting hit with. But in the actual Fair Park area itself, in that new development, it sounds like there would be a larger tax just specifically for that area, perhaps even something as high as 15%.
On what?
It would be on the hotels, same thing.
Oh, hotels.
Yeah,
okay.
So same hotels, but it'd
Thank
be
you.
A larger portion of it would be paid from that area.
Because those are going to be prime hotels.
Right, yeah, and some of those district specific revenues and tax rates, I believe at least one of them that I read was specifically subject to if an MLB agreement goes through. That's as far as I read. But yeah, within the district, they're going to be the bill basically just gives them permission to implement a bunch of revenue generating sources. So
Adam, thank you for joining us from KSL News Radio. Another little nugget here, Debbie, that I read in the Salt Lake Tribune was that the stadiums say the stadium's built. The ownership group, so presumably the Millers, would have to pay a monthly lease of $150,000 over 30 years.
Okay, so they're picking up a portion.
Yeah, so over 30 years, that $150,000 a month would end up only being around $50 million, $52 million.
So Utah going a baby version of Vegas, baby, because Vegas, when you think about hotel taxes, immediately, I just looked up, like I pretended to book a room at one of my favorite places to stay because they have the best beds on the Strip. Trust me. And the hotel tax that is added, they call it a resort fee, so it sounds awesome, is bonkers, to use a word that Dave always uses. It's bonkers. So a little teeny hotel tax, sticking it to the tourists. I love it. How about you, Dave?
Resort fees, taxes on a tourist tag. If it's building a Major League Baseball stadium, I love all the taxes. I am cut every tax available, but if there's a Major League Baseball, I suspend everything. I'm like, pass a Debbie Dujanovic tax for all I care.
I love it.
Tax everybody.
So let's ask our listeners to call in. Can you get on board but with raising the hotel tax, just an itty-bitty amount, to pay for a new, or help pay for a new $1 billion almost baseball stadium near downtown Salt Lake City? Live phone calls next. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Who's on deck next?
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Right now at Staples, you can print like a pro and save like a boss. Introducing the new HP OfficeJet Pro all-in-one printers. Professional HP quality, blazing HP speeds. Perfect for printing color presentations, flyers, brochures, and more at the home office or the office. And now at Staples, HP OfficeJet Pro printers are up to $90 off. So you can print and save like a pro. For the best deals on America's most trusted printer brand, HP, shop Staples today. Ends 3/2. Offer good in-store and online.
The venue's set. Families coming in from all over. It's our quinceañera. With all the excitement, it may be easy to overlook COVID-19. It's still a risk, and that's why it's muy importante to get this season's COVID-19 shot ahead of time. It helps protect against COVID-19, which can cause severe illness and hospitalization. So let's set the date, vaccinate, and celebrate. Learn about a vaccine option and book this season's updated COVID-19 shot today at schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. I am looking forward to hosting a series of in-person town halls throughout the 1st District, and I would love to see you. I will provide an update on my work in Congress and take your questions. 2024 has already been a busy and productive year for Team Moore, from committee work to meeting with many constituent groups, both in Washington and throughout the district, to learn more about the work you are doing for our community. On Wednesday, February 21st, I will be in Weber County at noon at Weber State University Walker Institute, Box Elder County at 5 p.m. at the Elwood Town Hall, and Cache County at 7 p.m. at the David B. Haight Center at Utah State. On Thursday, the 22nd, I will be in Salt Lake County at noon at the Hinckley Institute at the University of Utah. And finally, on Tuesday, the 27th, I will be in Davis County at 5:30 p.m. at the Catalyst Center. For more details and to sign up for my weekly e-newsletter, visit my website at blakemore.house.gov and follow us on social media at Rep. Blake Moore for updates and announcements. Thank you. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Grab your family and some gear and head to the 2024 Skijoring the Bear exhibition in Garden City on Friday, February 23rd. Bring your skis and join the race, or attend as a spectator to watch horses pull skiers through a course with jumps. Race divisions include Open, Novice, and Rookie, with buckles and cash prizes for the division winners. Everyone can enjoy food trucks, vendors, and more. Ski Joring the Bear in Garden City, just west of Heritage Park. Helmets are required for ski joring, and you need to bring your own skis. Kids 10 to 12 are free. Great lodging deals can be found at bearlake.org. Attend this exhibition event on Friday, February 23rd to see or experience the excitement of ski joring. Visit skijoringthebear.com for more information. skijoringthebear.com.
When Cynthia came to TurboTax, she had just launched her new side gig, a true crime podcast.
I'm a first-rate detective with a golden voice.
As her TurboTax expert, I made her second income count by guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and her maximum refund.
What did she do with that refund? Find out next week.
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a 5,000-pound satellite will fall into Earth's orbit today. Second, 2 men have been charged with murder in last week's shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. And third, a woman is dead after a crash on the border of West Haven. Weber County Police say a car with 2 women and an infant was turning left when they were struck by a full SUV. Right now it's cloudy and 41 degrees in Salt Lake. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, callers, hold the line. Jason, you're first up to bat when we get to our phone calls about funding the new Major League Baseball stadium near downtown Salt Lake City. The legislature has unveiled a plan to add to the hotel tax to raise some funds, and I love it. But Dave and I also want to remind you right now, we've got a secret contest going on. It's for our podcast listeners. It is a podcast listener exclusive. Here's what you need to do.
57500 is the text number. So you'll be listening to our podcast. I'm going to give you a key word. And the key word is not transient room text. I'm just going to tell you right now, that is not the key word, as tempting as it might be. But you take that keyword, you text it to 57500, and you'll be entered in for a chance to win some AirPods. AirPod Pros, like the nice ones.
Speaking of TRT, transient room tax, there is a plan in the Utah legislature just unveiled to help facilitate new Major League Baseball, a stadium on the west side of downtown. It's the Fair Park area, folks, right? That's what it's called. That's what it is. That's what we know it as, about North Temple. Kind of near, like Redwood Road, I-215, that area in there. So this plan calls for raising the hotel room tax to pay for a new $1 billion stadium near downtown Salt Lake City. Yes or no? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Taking live calls in just a second.
And the reason legislators like this so much is because typically these tourist tax are paid by out-of-state folks. So you come in, you stay at a hotel for a few nights from out of town, grandma's visiting, the grandkids. They're the ones that are getting hit with this tax. So anytime you stay in a hotel, add another couple bucks.
You're sticking grandparents in a hotel? Okay, there's a whole nother layer to that conversation. Jason from Fremont. It's been a minute since Dave and I have been up in your area. How's Fremont treating you?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
A little wet, a little bit of snow this morning, but overall pretty good.
All right, what do you think about this hotel tax?
Well, not a bad idea overall, but add into the piece that there was always that legislation that's gone through talking about making it so Utah can have a state lottery, and then if those funds would help pay for the education system and other areas that are underfunded, that maybe some of that, if that goes through, maybe use some of the income based off of that to help fund for the stadium.
Yeah, there has been that push on Utah's Capitol Hill recently. It's not the first time we've heard it. Usually that gets a big not going to happen from leaders up on Capitol Hill. So we don't know where that's going to go. But that was proposed by Representative Kara Birkeland, and seems to, as usual, like it'll probably stall out, just my personal opinion. But interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting idea.
I think one of the keys here, and it sounds like the entire state's going to be involved in this. So even though Major League Baseball will be the epicenter of activity, it's going to be this incredible design that we've seen the new initial plans for the Power District. That's what they're going to call it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to have a river walk down the Jordan River. Mm-hmm. It will probably be one of the finest Major League Baseball setups collectively, with the environment, the hotels, the restaurants, the stadium, as any place in the world. The plans are spectacular, but somebody's got to pay for it. And developers will take a chunk of it. But a lot of that, and it sounds like somewhere around close to $1 billion, will be the responsibility of the state.
Taking your live phone calls, I like the idea of sticking it to tourists. It's a little bit of Vegas, right? I mean, you go to Vegas. I just went on and pretend to book a hotel at one of my favorite hotels on the Strip to stay at, just because I've always thought the beds were the most comfortable. And it's $95 for 2 nights in Vegas is the resort fee. Which
$95?
Yeah, on top of, the $195 a night on a Sunday and a Monday night to stay there in March, just in case I wanted to go do a little birthday celebration. Happy birthday to me in Vegas. Another $100 tacked on top of that rate to pay for the resort fee. So they're getting rich off me too, so we might as well stick it to them when they come here so we can have some Major League Baseball. Ron, good morning. What do you think about this plan?
Well, I'm thumbs down on it because of taxation. I think, I'm not against baseball coming and the whole plan and all that kind of stuff. I think that's all wonderful and nice. I think when this original idea of baseball coming to Salt Lake was we're gonna have it come, but we're not gonna tax anybody. And now here we are, all of a sudden, with the big plans coming out and everything, that now we want to tax people, even though it's a small tax, and I've heard you talk here and all of that, but it's just the idea of taxation. Period. Let's tax the poor to give to the rich. And I don't like the idea. Why don't the state of Utah ask for donations so that not everyone in the state is required to pay, even though.
Ron, thank you for the phone call. And I think what you're saying echoes what Governor Cox said back in April of last year when he said, I don't think taxpayers should subsidize billionaires. We don't build stadiums. That's not what we do. So we've reached out to the governor. We want to know, is that still his plan? Is that still his stance, that you don't think that taxpayers should subsidize billionaires? Again, he said, we don't build stadiums. That's not what we do. Well, this is exactly what we're doing, is we are funding at least a large chunk of this stadium, close to $1 billion, through hotel taxes. Now, you can say that's not directly affecting Utahns. Well, yeah, of course, Utahns are going to be. I still stay in hotels here in Utah. Absolutely, I do. When I travel around to southern Utah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. When softball tournaments.
Say I have a couch if you need it.
Yeah, no, I have a home, Deb. Thanks, so I appreciate it. But no, of course, we stay in hotels, so we will be paying for it. It is not a large increase. Mm-mm. It's going from 0.3%, the proposal, to 1.9%. So it's $2 on every $100 you'll spend.
Okay, $2, less than a cup of coffee. Come on, $2. On our KSL News Radio Facebook page. Love the fact that we put these questions on there so we can involve our Facebook friends. And please feel free to like us on Facebook as well. Kendall says subsidies for sports arenas are a terrible deal for communities. We should offer them a loan, but not a subsidy. That's an interesting twist. I disagree that sports arenas are a terrible deal for communities. I think something like this will build up a community. And that area of town we need to lift them up.
And in more ways than just financially.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, a bill about regulating micro schools now sitting on the governor's desk. This defines micro schools as schools with fewer than 100 children in a commercial property or less than 16 kids in a home. State Senator Lincoln Fillmore says these would be regulated more like a business than a school.
There's no sense in requiring a small 1,500 square foot space, to be classified as E-occupancy. So we just regulate it like a B-occupancy clinic in the same way that we would a tutoring center or something like that. That's just like a regular business.
Micro schools would not be subject to the same educational requirements or curriculum as other Utah schools. They'd be able to open in any kind of a zoned location. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A United Airlines cross-country flight was cut short after the plane suffered damage to one of its wings. ABC's Mark Remillard reports.
It's not clear what caused the damage. Video of the incident showing what looks like holes left in the leading edge of the right wing near the engine mount. Passengers on board the San Francisco to Boston flight say one of the pilots walked down the aisle to take a look at the wing before announcing the flight would divert to Denver. United not speculating on a cause. The FAA will investigate.
Your money at this moment, the Dow and the NASDAQ both down at this hour. And our KSL weather looks like it's going to dry out a little bit, and then another storm arrives next week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Jazz Plus is here. With Jazz Plus, you can watch games live from your TV, computer, tablet, or phone. So don't miss any of the action when you're at home or away. Can't get enough of your favorite team? Go behind the scenes and see what the team is up to on and off the court. With flexible plans, you can choose what works for you. From full season to monthly, or just pick a single game you want to watch. Sign up and subscribe today at UtahJazzPlus.com.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL 5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
Do you hear that? If you're like many people, that's the sound of your money. Just lying there in a checking or savings account doing nothing when it could be out there earning more money for you. But at America First Credit Union, we can give your money a wake-up call.
What? What's that?
Rise and shine, Bucky. We can get your money working in a high-yield certificate account, earning you a much better return than traditional checking and savings. Up and at 'em, buddy. We gotta go.
Huh? Where are we going?
To America First. You'll love it there. They're gonna help you do so much awesome stuff.
All right, I'm coming.
So get your money working with a high-yield certificate from America First. Head to americafirst.com today to check out the latest amazing rates. Subject to membership, eligibility, terms, conditions, and change. Federally insured by NCUA.
Boyd Matheson. Listening to Inside Sources is a little different from just reading the headlines because we're always going to get you into that think again moment. We have experts from around the country, across the world, and right here local to home that'll help us dive in and get past just the hype, the fluff, the fake fights, and the false choice so we can get into the news to help you connect the dots and make the news make sense.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the worst issue for people out on the roadways is if you're trying to get into the higher elevations or ski resorts. Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, along with Sardine Canyon, still require chains or four-wheel drive to go up or down those canyon areas. You also have a lot of rain still falling up through Weber and Box Elder County, so I-15 is pretty soaked, and we've had multiple crashes as you make your way between Willard and Ogden. Tired of being a doorman for your furry friends? Say hello to Utah's own pet door products. Their pet doors are energy efficient, weatherproof, and secure. Visit www.petdoorproducts.com. I'm Heather Kelly with traffic on FM 100 on KSL News Radio.
And our KSL weather, showers continuing through the day today, and then we'll dry out toward the weekend. We'll look for more rain, possibly snow early next week. And right now we're at 41 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I'm going to take you back just about 2 years ago, and we're going to go over to the ballpark neighborhood in Salt Lake City. That's where the Salt Lake Bees have played for many years. That area had a murder rate 9 times higher than Salt Lake City as a whole. In August, a 17-year-old seriously injured when a shooting happened on a Sunday morning. And the sounds of gunfire captured on that doorbell camera. Chilling. Prostitution, sex trafficking, property crimes rampant.
And my girl's like, the car's broken into. I'm like, what you mean? You know, so I come outside, I see both my windows just broken. They just broke the windows and didn't take anything.
Residents were just felt lost on what they could do.
I just have to trust, trust in the leadership and the knowledge and skills that the police have to help us keep employees safe.
So the city of Salt Lake did something.
I would say the most notorious convenience store in the area that was known to be a site of drug dealing throughout the valley that changed ownership due to the efforts of one of our most dedicated Salt Lake City police officers.
That was Amy Hawkins. She spoke to us just a short couple of weeks ago about the transformation of her neighborhood. And we're going to get into more specifics in just a moment. But crime has gone down. The Salt Lake City Chief of Police, Mike Brown, said so very recently at a news conference.
In the ballpark neighborhood, we saw a 32% decrease in violent crime in 2023.
So when I heard this, these numbers, these are big numbers. They're significant numbers. So my initial question was it dumb luck? Because sometimes that just happens, right? It kind of ebbs and flows. It goes up and down. Deputy Chief Scott Morcus joins us right now from the Salt Lake Police Department. And Deputy Chief, I wanted to know, okay, did you guys just flood the area with cops for 6 months, get the numbers down, or was this something more serious and sustainable?
Yeah, and thanks for having me. It's great to be here talking with you guys. As far as it comes to our strategy in crime reduction, it's not just about the ballpark area. This is a strategy that's taking place across the entire city. It's broken up by geographical divisions. And within this particular area of the city, which we call the Liberty Division, the ballpark area was an area that we decided to focus on specifically because of the concentration of crime in that area. And it's not simply about just flooding the area with cops. Now, certainly increasing police presence in an area is always going to give you good dividends. But it's much more than that. It's about being strategic, about identifying and addressing different crime patterns, as well as working with businesses and communities with different approaches. It's a wide-reaching, evidence-based approach that we've put into place over the past 2 years, and that we're seeing a lot of success with.
What I am glad about is that this story came to us by talking to people in the community. Deputy Chief Marcus, not the chief of police, said what he said about crime reduction, but then we spoke, shortly thereafter with Amy Hawkins, who is, she's a community member, often speaks out about problems in the neighborhood, and she called the show and she said this.
We've noticed a palpable change. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for our Salt Lake City police officers.
So here you have neighbors in that community thanking the Salt Lake PD for their actions. What steps did you take, and can you share the formula for other communities that might be dealing with crime?
Sure. And it's always great to hear that positive feedback. That's the whole reason we do this. We want less violence in particular communities. We want less crime in general. And if people are noticing that, then we're doing a good job. When it comes to the formula, if you will, we really took a step back and looked at the evidence base and worked with some outside criminologists who I have a lot of good connections with through some other avenues, and talked about this idea of what's in the criminology literature called the law of crime concentration. I don't care what city you go to in America, you're going to find approximately 5% of streets in any given city are going to account for 50% of the crime within that city.
Back up and say that stat again. Wow. Rewind it. Tell us that again.
Yeah, it's called the law of crime concentration. And again, it doesn't matter what city you go to in America, you're going to find about 5% of streets in any given city is going to account for 50% of the crime in that city.
And this is something that every cop probably knows intrinsically. You know the trouble spots around your area.
Yes. I think every good cop intuitively knows this, right? Areas that experience ongoing problems with crime are not new. They've been there for a while, right? Crime concentrates and it tends to stay where it is. The trick becomes for police departments, how do we use our finite resources to strategically approach and attack these areas where we know crime is concentrating and disproportionately accounting for crime within the overall city?
We're speaking live with Deputy Chief of the Salt Lake City Police Department, Sergeant Scott Morcus. And that area around the ballpark community specifically was crime-ridden. There was a lot of problems with crime where the Salt Lake Bees play baseball, and the neighbors have been very outspoken about it. And they've noticed a big change for the better. So from there, once you identify through this literature, which is fascinating to me, that this is one of the problem spots, where do you go from there to start addressing it if you're not just going to use like an old model of policing, which is just put a bunch of patrol cars on the streets every single night?
Yeah, and it's a multi-pronged approach. Each of our patrol divisions has a captain over it. They're division captains. They have geographical responsibility for their area. The captain over this particular area is ultimately responsible for crime reduction in that area. And I meet every other week with the patrol captains to talk about what have we done in the past 2 weeks and what are we doing in the next 2 weeks. And that's a whole host of different approaches. We have some outstanding crime analysts that work for us, as well as a data administrator, and they're constantly scanning the city for different crime patterns. And when we see those pop up, those get assigned to different watch commanders, which is a lieutenant level for us, and they are responsible for closing out that crime pattern, which means we do not want to see that same crime, whether it be car prowls, burglary, whatever, in that area for 2 weeks straight. And until that happens, you are still responsible for that crime pattern. And we've had a lot of success approaching things in that way. When you're looking at these more concentrated areas, we're talking about doing dispatched patrols where we've identified areas where a lot of violent street crime is occurring, as well as what days and time of day that occurs. And we populate our CAD with dispatches for officers to go to that area and just be highly visible.
So CAD is a computer-aided dispatch
Sorry.
system. A lot of people who aren't familiar with police terms won't know what that acronym stands for, and how does that play into this? You just is like a computer system that you just populate with this information all the time?
Yeah, I mean, criminals and crime are like anything else in life. They have patterns, right? There's patterns. You just have to sift through the data and identify them. And so these areas where crime are concentrating, identifying those areas first is the first problem, and then identifying when are these occurring, what days of the week and what time.
Ah.
And it's pretty stable.
Is it?
It is.
They're predictable.
It is predictable. People are predictable. You just have to understand the patterns. And then we can put those times and dates into our dispatch system where our officers are then dispatched to those locations on those days and times, and they just have to be there with all of their lights on and be highly visible. That alone will deter crime. And we're talking about having violent crime in the focus area in the ballpark area.
We're speaking with Deputy Chief Scott Morcus. After we saw a huge reduction over the last couple of years, in fact, it was almost a 50% reduction in violent crime in the last couple of years, specifically in the ballpark neighborhood. That's where the Bees play. This was really a hotbed of criminality. And in the last couple of years, with some of these approaches that you've been describing, you've seen some really incredible results. When we come back, I want to ask how you get community buy-in, because I know that is a crucial component of it, to get the folks around this area to buy in to your vision and what you're trying to do there when we come back.
Can we also talk about this? Remember when Amy Hawkins joined the show from the community and said that there was a closure of a hotel and a closure of a problem business?
Store, yeah.
Can we talk about the closures of these places that she told us were attracting a lot of crime and how the city did that?
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio. It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, let me tell you, I think we've all been burned a time or two by the bid process where we ask someone to come out, show us, tell us how much it's going to cost to do something around the house. And then when we actually get the invoice, it's like a punch in the face. It's nowhere near what they said it was going to be.
Punch in the wallet. Master Electrical has upfront pricing, and this is why you have to give them a call for your next electrical project, whether that's ceiling lights, like Dave doesn't have any in his living room. He needs them to add some nice updated recessed lighting to his living space.
Throw a light in there, kids.
Or maybe you need a generator. You're thinking about adding a generator to your home just in case. Master Electrical, there you go-to.
Yeah, and they serve everyone from Logan to Santaquin, so they do emergency services as well. That's like the only services I ever need. It's like emergency, like please show up 2 o'clock in the morning. All you have to do is give them a call. 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Or you can always check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-530-9353. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-530-9353. That's 800-530-9353. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Senate Bill 210 is a medical emergency at the Utah legislature. Ophthalmologists and optometrists are not the same. Optometrists don't complete medical school, no hospital internship, and no surgical residency. Ophthalmologists are medical doctors with years of surgical training on real patients. Now, optometrists want to perform surgery using lasers on the only eyes you'll ever have. Optometrists are not medical doctors, yet they want Senate Bill 210 to suddenly make them surgeons. Does that make sense to you? Your state legislator can help stop this nonsense by voting no. It takes years of training to make a surgeon. No bill can ever change that. Your legislator can help stop this nonsense. Tell your legislator to keep Utah eyes safe.
Paid for by the Utah Ophthalmology Society.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the micro schools bill is through both houses and waiting for the governor's signature. Second, the state of Utah could wind up spending almost $1 billion to fund a Major League Baseball stadium. Third, a United Airlines flight to Boston had to land in Denver after passengers spotted damage to the plane's wing. Right now, 41 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're speaking live in studio right now to the Salt Lake City Police Department about how they got a grip on crime in the ballpark neighborhood in Salt Lake City. That's the area where the Salt Lake City Bees have played for years. Amy Hawkins, who is one of the community leaders in that area, has been so gracious with her time over the years here on the David Dujanovic Show to call us and give us updates. And a few weeks ago, when the chief of police, Dave, announced that there was a significant reduction in crime in her neighborhood, we fact-checked him. And Amy called the show, and here's what she said.
We've noticed a palpable change. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for our Salt Lake City police officers.
And I think Amy has joined our show for years. We've talked to her several times, and she's also been very honest when things are not going well. So that's in part why it stood out to us when she is praising and saying things were changing. Things we feel like there's been buy-in from the police department and from the community. So joining us right now is Deputy Chief of the Salt Lake Police Department, Scott Morcus. And I do want to examine, how do you get the buy-in from the community? Because a lot of times we'll hear the complaints, but I know from the policing angle, you've got to have buy-in from the community as well. How have you done that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I really think there's 2 prongs here. You have organizational buy-in and you also have community buy-in. I think those things overlap, right? As in any organization, there's always the good idea ferry going around, right? And we implement something new and 2 months later it's just gone, right?
Oh my goodness, everybody's guilty of that.
Right?
Great point.
And so implementing a strategy like this, part of it's first getting buy-in from the officers in the sense that, this has longevity. We're serious about this. This is the approach. This is what we're going to do. And a lot of that comes down to different accountability structures within our agency. And our Captain Goodman over the Liberty Division has done an amazing job of, really emphasizing that we are going to be doing these things in this area for the long term. And it's the same kind of thing with the community, right? Like they experience the same thing. If, the good idea ferry comes along and we do something for a month or 2 months and then it goes away, it's hard to get buy-in for that. But I think as we've shown that we're serious about this, we're serious about being consistent and having longevity in this approach, I think that's gotten a lot of the buy-in as long as with the results that come along with it. And then again, Captain Goodman and her community liaison officer for the area really go out of their way to go out and talk face-to-face with business owners as well as different community members to really kind of explain what's going on and help in different circumstances.
I want to talk about the business closures that we learned about, that Amy Hawkins told us about when she called in, because she said that was really helpful. And I want to find out how that was done in just a moment. But I want to talk specifics. What crimes what crimes have been reduced in the ballpark community?
Yeah, so we're talking about two different areas, right? You have the overall ballpark community, and then we have a specific area within the ballpark community that we've really been focusing our energy on. When it comes to types of crime in the overall ballpark community for 2023 compared to 2022, we're talking about a 32% reduction in violent crime. And for violent crime, we're talking about homicide, aggravated assaults like shootings, stabbings,
robberies.
When
somebody comes up to you with a weapon
yes.
and forcefully takes something from you. It's the super, super scary stuff.
Absolutely.
But what most likely is going to affect the general public is the property crimes. I mean, to me, those are the kinds of crimes that you come out of your home and your windows are all smashed in, or, your yard has been vandalized, your home has been burglarized while you're away at work. Have there been a reduction in those kinds of crimes too?
So for the overall ballpark community, we saw a small uptick in that for last year, but in the area that we've really been concentrating on, we saw a 17% reduction.
Okay.
So again, it's about using
really hyper focus.
Yes, it's really about using the finite resources to concentrate in the areas where we see the most concentration of crime. We cannot be everywhere at once. So where do we get the most bang for our buck? And that's what this is about.
And violent crimes, obviously, at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, property crime affects more people in most cities.
But violent crime is far worse.
But we really try to focus on physical harm, so those violent crimes are going to get more attention.
Well, you have a lot of people coming to that area, and likely still will if the A's end up in South Jordan for a few seasons, and you've got people still showing up at Smith's Ballpark to watch the Bees play, the A's and the Bees. Isn't that weird? Okay, the Bees play near downtown Salt Lake City, so you're still going to have people coming. And people have complained about the crime in that area when they go visit, and so they're a little nervous about bringing their kids down there. So a reduction in violent crime is especially important. A reduction in property crime, where you don't come out and have your tires slashed, that's important too. So one of our listeners texted in on our text line, Deputy Chief Morkos, and asked, when you reduce crime in the ballpark area, does crime just scatter to other areas? We hear that a lot. Does that happen?
That's a great question. In the crime science literature, we refer to that as displacement of crime. And I actually have a hard time even convincing some officers that this doesn't occur, in the sense that it's a nuanced result. What we find in the literature, as well as what we've seen here locally, because this is something we've measured along the way, because it's something to be concerned about, is you do see evidence of some displacement, but it's not a one-for-one displacement, right? So it's not as if, let's say, you're going to have 10 crimes here in this one area, and we're moving all 10 crimes to another area. We see some displacement in the sense that, well, now it's only 7 crimes that have moved to the other area rather than the 10. So you're still seeing an overall reduction, even though you do tend to get some displacement, but it's not a one-for-one.
What I've noticed, too, in the years of covering the Salt Lake City Police Department response times, crimes, and crime trends is, for example, I think this guy was out stealing catalytic converters years ago. It may have been cars. He was stealing something of importance to people. And when you arrest him and you focus on an area and are able to drill down on the one suspect, and maybe he has a few tentacles, he's got a few people working under him. Once you take those people off the streets, and it just seems to really reduce all the crimes, because you've taken the head off the snake, so to speak, and you put him in jail, or you send him back to prison because he was on parole.
Yeah, this concept of crime concentration just isn't about locations. It's also about people.
Yeah.
Right? There is a small amount of people that are responsible for a disproportionate amount of the crime in any community. And so, again, using intelligence, analysis, we try to focus in on those individuals that are the most problematic, because if you are able to get them into jail and ostensibly keep them in jail, then yeah, that can have an effect on crime as well.
Okay, specifically as we were talking about the ballpark, a couple things that were mentioned was either it was a change of ownership on a convenience store or closing of a hotel. What was addressed in this, and how does that impact?
Yeah, and again, I'm going to have to point to Captain Goodman over this particular area and her Division Community Liaison Officer, Detective Fallows. They work very closely, face-to-face with business owners, as well as the property owners of these businesses or these specific locations that are being rented out. If we have a problem tenant or we have...
Lots of crime that's attracted because of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Property owners have rights as far as who gets to use their property. And most property owners don't want people committing crime on their property. So we try really hard to work with property owners to get them to voluntarily do something about their tenants if they're committing crime. There are also ordinances that we can use to address it from that angle. It doesn't have to necessarily be an arrest. If we can remove the problem without making an arrest, that's just as good in the sense that the crime is no longer occurring.
I'm going to be honest. You convinced me it wasn't dumb luck. It sounds like you guys had a plan, you executed it, and it has been very successful. And is it you can repeat it in other areas as well? You're confident about that?
We have been repeating the same process in every division of our city and seeing very similar success. And these are evidence-based strategies that we have known about for 50-plus years in policing. Yes. It's just about putting it into a system where an agency can use their resources to attack it in a strategic way.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Deputy Chief Scott Morcus from the Salt Lake Police Department. Best of luck. Stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. Keep working hard out there. It sounds like what you're doing is working. Neighbors in the ballpark area of Salt Lake City are certainly noticing it. And now you need to... Also, you got to clone Captain Goodman, apparently. We heard a lot about Captain Goodman. Can we meet Captain Goodman? All right, we're going to meet Captain Goodman soon. Next, Heather Kelly in studio with us. She just dropped a new podcast episode this morning. I listened to it. It's all about our mindset impacting our personal spending habits and our relationship with money.
The belief that we have enough can change our behavior.
Oh, she convinced me. She's going to join us next. Let's see if she can convince you too.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, building a Major League Baseball stadium in Salt Lake City could cost taxpayers as much as $900 million. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Representative Ryan Wilcox has introduced a brand new bill aimed at supporting the new stadium and the area around it. That $900 million is for half the actual cost to build the new stadium, but that's on the low end, and it leaves the door open to pledge more tax dollars. As it's currently written, the money would come from two main sources. One, an increase in the statewide hotel tax, and two, a wide array of taxes coming from around the stadium itself.
Now, there's only a week left in the legislative session. The bill has yet to be heard by a committee. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The subject in custody in Arizona as authorities look into a possible cross-country violent crime spree that included a murder in New York City. ABC's Mark Remillard reports.
Rod Al-Mansouri, arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona, now booked in connection with two stabbings, one during a carjacking and another during an assault of a woman inside a McDonald's, according to police. Authorities now tracing his movements and looking at potential crimes in Florida and Texas as well. Mark Remillard, ABC News, New York.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, both down about 100 points at this hour. And on the way, looks like we'll be drying out for a day or two, but then the storm comes back. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The last thing you want in the morning is more noise.
The day's just getting started. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, and it's not even 8 yet.
So catching up on important news stories, some sense of weather and traffic, it shouldn't be stressful.
Get a wrap on the day ahead from smart, inviting voices who know you're trying to ease in.
Do you love a rainy day?
I do, actually.
I do too.
Tim and Amanda, mornings from 5 to 9. They have you covered on KSL News Radio.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Dodge, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR-certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
I'm what you might call very good at hide and seek. This one time, my parents had to round up the whole neighborhood to track me down. It was a mess. A lot of tears. Well, now that we got Xfinity, we have Wi-Fi all over the house, including all my favorite super secret hiding spots. So I can kill time in here by streaming my shows and...
Ha! Found you.
The heck? How?
You left Find My tablet on.
This generation, ruining the game with their performance enhancers.
Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. And Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless plan and auto-pay stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, extreme northern Utah has a lot of weather conditions happening right now. It is snow in the higher elevations of Sardine Canyon into Logan and further north than that in Cache County. Box Elder County, you're going to have some rain that is collecting on the roadways, especially I-15. See a lot of spray kicking up from the tires there. By the time you get into Weber and Davis County, though, the roads are drying out. You even see a little bit of sun. And right now, there's no accidents reported. What's more delicious than Canvas and Confection collab? Don't miss Park City Gallery Association's Chocolate Lovers Gallery Stroll this Friday, 6 to 9, featuring 10 local chocolatiers. Details, visit parkcitygalleryassociation.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Showers continue through the day today, then will dry out toward the weekend, and we'll look for more rain and possibly snow early next week. Right now, 42 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Look, I do this. Heather Kelly busted me today totally when I listened to her brand new podcast that dropped this morning, Money Making Sense, and it has to do with your belief in yourself and how it affects your income. And I'm a total Debbie Downer when it comes to me. Like, I don't deserve it. I'll never do well in the stock market because I'm just a total loser when it comes to picking stocks. And she dives into how this really does totally play out in real life when you think that way.
You're telling me you just got to believe?
Well, there's more to it than that.
I'm hoping I'm getting more than the Oprah Book Club here. Like, you just got to believe you're going to be a millionaire.
First, before we start, who's the coach you spoke to on this podcast? He was fabulous.
Yeah, his name is Justin Janowski, and he's the founder of Faith to Influence.
Okay, let's listen to part of what he said to you.
The belief that we have enough can change our behavior. And if we believe that we've got enough, then we can start to save a little bit. And even if it's just a small amount, if repeated again and again and again, it can make a big difference.
Holy smokes.
So let's start there.
That just answered it for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit pie in the sky, you know, like you just got to believe you can do it. But the belief that you have enough.
Yes.
Okay, what does he mean by that?
That means that you have enough to cover your rent or your mortgage, your food, your necessities. If you believe that
And you always have.
And you always have had
That's
enough
true.
to survive, then any little extra, even if it's $1 a week, you can start putting that away into savings.
Can I share a little bit of a personal story on this?
Yes.
Because as you were saying it, it kind of clicked in my brain that you have enough. So I've been very, very transparent about this. I'm on a little weight loss program right now, and it's simplifying food. So we're not eating out. We're eating at home. We're going to the store. We're purchasing very clean, healthy meals, right? Yep. So I'm buying the vegetables and the meats, and it is shocking to me, number one, how little food I actually need to eat. Yep. I don't need to eat the entire sleeve of Oreos. How little money I need to eat, and how affordable I can eat and eat healthy. And it's been a revelation because the family budget was like, oh, we need $1,000 for food to feed everybody. I'm like, oh, well, that's actually not the case.
Yeah. And so you've realized through this that even if you're eating 1,000 or 1,200 calories a day, that might be enough. And what we're realizing through Heather's podcast, and I'm not saying that's enough for everybody, but I'm just saying under certain plans that might be enough. And with your podcast episode today, what I realized, just to equate that to money, is he said something to the effect of, you have to understand that so many people in this world live on $2 a week. Yeah. Or $4 a week. And let's say that's even $5 a week. And that's a huge amount of people. What you have when you look around, and the fact that you have even a device to listen to this podcast on, tells me you have enough.
Yeah. Yeah, he talks about it. He says if you have a phone, if you're paying for that phone, the phone bill, or just buying the phone outright, you have enough. And so you need to start then using that belief to then realize, okay, I can look around. Where can I put some money away? But by this, the reverse is also true. If you think that money is evil, or big corporations, it's just evil money, and you don't want to be like that, you could be pushing money away from yourself because you do not want to be that person, so to speak. So he says you want to reframe that. If you are concerned that you don't want to be that evil person or the bad actor with a lot of money, then think of any extra money you have as you can use that to help your community, instead of just trying to not have it. Oh, I'm not going to be that, the guy next door has a 10,000 square foot house.
So what I took away from that part of the discussion is I also need to open my mind to other ideas, and I have to believe in myself more. Once I start believing in myself, it doesn't mean magical things or money's going to start dropping into my bank account. But then that opens my mind up to other opportunities, whether that's going in and asking for a raise, or maybe exploring a new business opportunity. Yeah. And I loved that part, because I think so often, like when I look at my career, Dave was transparent about his diet. When I look at my career, I felt it's kind of like this, even though I love what I do, it's just kind of a one-track career. I'm in the news business, and I jumped from reporter to investigative reporter. Now I'm a radio talk show host. But then I'm starting to realize there's a lot of other things that could be opened up to me, whether it's a new podcast and we can look at doing something like that, or more voice work for the station and other things. So once we start looking at things in that light, Heather, and your podcast today really helped me with that. And I listened to it in the bathroom this morning, and then I finished it on my way into the newsroom today. It was very helpful. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That's what I hope that my podcast is called Money Making Sense brings to people. It's how do you think about money, and how can you save more or spend more wisely?
A penny saved is a penny earned. And I think we forget that, because we do kind of accept, or maybe rationalize in our brain, like, well, everyone has a Netflix account. I have to have a Netflix account. So there's $15 that's just, I'm never going to see again. But you start measuring, well, what do I really need a Netflix account? Or do I need Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, HBO, and Peacock? Did I leave any out? You start stacking those on, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, well, that $100 that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I do want to draw attention. You said right up front, you said, oh, just because I believe that I'm worthy of money, it's just going to fall into my lap. One thing that Justin talks about in my show is he says you have to have that feel like you are worthy first off. But once you feel like you're worthy to earn more money, you have to do the work to get it. But if you don't even feel you're worthy, you're not going to do the work.
One of the other takeaways from the podcast, I don't want to give everything away, but it's a great 20 or so minutes, 30 minutes of your time well spent. And let's just spend a few seconds on this. Is he brought up assigning your money to different, actually like physically different, having different bank accounts.
Yes.
And I love that idea. And I haven't done that yet, and I've been meaning to, and you've inspired me to do that too.
I have been doing that for about 12 years now. So I have my checking account where I pay all my bills, but I have a separate emergency fund, the one where, if you blow your tire and you have to buy one right this second, you need access to it immediately. But I have an even separate savings account that is my 6-month emergency. Like if I lost my job, I'm not going to need all of that money, today, but I can draw from it slowly. And it takes like 5 days to get that money from that account to me. So I can't use it as an impulse, to use that money. But if you have a separate account and every week you just send $1 or $5 to that account every week, and you do it on automatic transfer, within a few months, you're going to see like, oh my gosh, hey, look at this little nest egg I've started to develop here. And it makes you feel really good.
Am I remembering this right? Didn't you pay for a car that way? Just squirreling money away?
Yep. I did. I had my car for 23 years. And almost from the time that I paid it off, so it took me about 5 years to pay it off the old car. I just started putting that money I had been paying toward my car into a separate savings account. So after another...
For 18 years?
For 18 years. And then I had enough money. I just went, here's my cash. Only I didn't
paid
tell...
for the car in cash.
I did.
Yeah, you can't tell them you have cash.
You don't tell them you have cash because they'll raise the price.
I'm proud of you, Heather. I'm proud of you. Love your podcast, Money Making Sense. Heather Kelly with KSL News Radio. We're lucky to have you here. Come back again with the next time you've got another podcast drop that you know we'll be interested in. Really good stuff. Money Making Sense with Heather Kelly. Go subscribe to her podcast today. Listen to that episode. She's got a ton of other episodes there as well. Next, we are talking about women and money. And this has happened in my lifetime where women were allowed to finance, in my lifetime, I'm going to be 57 years old in a few weeks, buying a home on their own without the signature of a man. And now guess what has happened? We are taking the world by storm in America when it comes to being home buyers on our own. We're going to, with the help of the Stern team, thankfully, we certainly appreciate their partnership here with us at KSL News Radio, talking about why women are more likely to buy a home than men. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
KSL and the Movie Show will be at My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. My Hearing Centers changes lives through better hearing. Visit myhearingcenters.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Grab your family and some gear and head to the 2024 Skijoring the Bear exhibition in Garden City on Friday, February 23rd. Bring your skis and join the race, or attend as a spectator to watch horses pull skiers through a course with jumps. Race divisions include Open, Novice, and Rookie, with buckles and cash prizes for the division winners. Everyone can enjoy food trucks, vendors, and more. Skijoring the Bear in Garden City, just west of Heritage Park. Helmets are required for skijoring, and you need to bring your own skis. Kids 10 to 12 are free. Great lodging deals can be found at bearlake.org. Attend this exhibition event on Friday, February 23rd to see or experience the excitement of skijoring. Visit skijoringthebear.com for more information. skijoringthebear.com.
Senate Bill 210 is a medical emergency at the Utah legislature. Ophthalmologists and optometrists are not the same. Optometrists don't complete medical school, no hospital internship, and no surgical residency. Ophthalmologists are medical doctors with years of surgical training on real patients. Now, optometrists want to perform surgery using lasers on the only eyes you'll ever have. Optometrists are not medical doctors, yet they want Senate Bill 210 to suddenly make them surgeons. Does that make sense to you? Your state legislator can help stop this nonsense by voting no. It takes years of training to make a surgeon. No bill can ever change that. Your legislator can help stop this nonsense. Tell your legislator to keep Utah eyes safe.
Paid for by the Utah Ophthalmology Society.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the legislature has only a few days left to address a bill that would spend as much as $900 million for a Major League Baseball stadium. Second, 4 teenagers have been arrested in Millard County with weapons and a large stash of drugs in their car. And third, police in Arizona have a suspect in custody in a multi-state crime spree going all the way back to New York. Right now, 42 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, on every Wednesday for the rest of the year, we're so grateful to the Stern team for partnering with us for our very important topics about home buying and housing.
Priced out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
And this topic, it certainly caught my eye because it has to do with women, specifically single women. In 2023, we outnumbered men as home buyers. And I want to be specific and remind you, this is single women. So this isn't women signing and then, their man is, living there. So this is single women, according to the National Association of Realtors.
I think I'm both surprised and not surprised. Okay, let me tell you why. Obviously surprising just because of the gender stereotypes, right? And I think we're going to dive into this a little bit as it hasn't been that long since women couldn't buy a home.
In my lifetime.
Like
on their own.
Literally in your lifetime. So that's not my experience. It seems foreign. It seems crazy. But of course, this was a real thing. So again, not my experience. So a little surprising that way. Maybe not surprising for this reason. The majority of people that are graduating from college right now are women. The majority of STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, and math, also women. So maybe we shouldn't be totally surprised.
Do you feel like that gives them a financial leg up with their qualifications and their finances to be able to get into a home? Is that why you brought that up?
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you look at earning potential, if you have a degree, now there's some argument to be made there, but yeah, I think college is a pretty good indication.
And it's double. I mean, the statistics show it is double in terms of single men buying a home last year. 19% of all home buyers last year were single women. 10% were single men.
I'm surprised anybody single can buy a home.
Really? So there you go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about that. Now, my son did it.
Yeah.
It was not an easy road because there's a lot of bidding wars at the time, and he was a first-time home buyer too. But I did it as a single woman. Now the price of my first home was far less expensive than his. But I also say thank you to the women who fought for women to buy a home on their own, because I bought my first home in 1993, and it was in 1970 that women were allowed under, federal law to buy a home without a man. And that to me says, okay, less than a quarter century later, when I was, in my mid-20s, I was able to then just go in on my own and sign all the paperwork. I didn't have anybody sitting there with me. It was me and the mortgage lender, who was a man. And, he helped me through the process, but it was just me. I was on my own. And I'm grateful to that. When I realized that if I'd been born a lot earlier, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And that made all of the difference for me in my life financially. It absolutely, that moment I went in and signed that paperwork was a game changer for me. I was out of the world of renting. I'd been renting since I was 18 years old. And it also gave my husband and me what I'm going to say is a little bit of a nest egg to be able to sell that property and buy our first home together, because I'd built equity in the time that I had lived there. So why is it happening that women are now clearly outpacing men, single women, to get into their homes? There's been some analysis done on this, and it's pretty clear that more likely women are going to be the caregivers, the single moms. They're going to be caring for their parents. They're going to be caring for their children, and they want a stability factor in their life. And that stability comes with not exorbitant prices, rental prices going up on them, monthly rents soaring, or the fact that they have to get kicked out because their landlords decided to rent to somebody new.
Stability is the key.
Yeah, it's huge.
When I hear you describe that, caregiving, perhaps you have a parent living with you. Yeah, you want the stability of a home.
Do you agree with this? There's also information in this report that says women will make more sacrifices. So according to the National Association of Realtors, there's data out there, Dave, that shows single women are more likely than men to make financial sacrifices like, cutting back on non-essential spending. Will even be more willing to take a second job.
Debbie, I'm telling you, in my own family,
really,
that is the case. I have to be very clear with my wife. I'm like, we are never getting rid of my Audible account, and we're never getting rid of my Apple Music. Like, that's $30 you can just kiss goodbye for the rest of eternity.
Okay, so
she would have had him cut yesterday.
Because it's $25 a month or something like that.
$15 a month per.
And then she probably does an inventory. It's like, how often are you using Audible?
Yeah.
Are you using your full month's supply? And if you aren't, is there a cheaper plan out there? That's exactly how I was. Remember when we actually had phones that went into the wall at home? No, they hated it when Mama did the yearly audit of all things we spent, because I would sit down over a weekend and pull out all the bills, and then I would be on the phone for the next week cutting out all of these extras that were tacked on in the bill that I didn't even know about, or I'd be questioning how much are you using this, or why are you overusing this?
Why do you need a second and third cheeseburger? Yeah, I get it.
Oh, yeah. No, my husband was on an allowance. And everybody at the office knew it. He was on an allowance. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys, I'm drinking water today.
So women are more likely to make sacrifices, and those sacrifices add up to a lot of money over time that you can then put toward getting into your first home, getting into a home at all. And I think women are more likely to do that than men. We're just more willing. And we're also, I think sometimes with men, this is just my observation, in some cases, now this wasn't the case in my marriage, there is a pride factor with men with taking a second job.
A pride factor?
A pride factor. Yeah, you have your main career and you're not going to go out and work a second job. And I don't think we have that same, we're just like, whatever job, at least that's how
I want everybody working all the time, so I have absolutely no hesitation on this.
You don't feel that. You're like, I'm the breadwinner and I'll be darned if I'm going to take a second job.
Yeah, everyone on the team gets to play if they want.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons for why that's happening, but I think this is just the beginning. Well, I think it's just the beginning.
I find it fascinating. Again, let me go back to kind of my original point. I'm shocked that anyone can buy a home when they're single ladies or single guys, because when we've done research here in Utah. To buy a home, you need to have a salary of about $130,000 a year here in the state of Utah to be able to afford an average home.
So does that mean women who are buying these homes are making at least that?
They're obviously making some good money, so that's great.
Impressive.
Hey, we want to thank the Stern team who partners up with a lot of our conversations about homes and housing prices. Learn your true value of your home in just 30 seconds. All you have to do is go to thesternteam.com to find out more.
Thank you so much once again to the Stern team. Straight ahead, Boyd Matheson walking into studio. What happened to the president's national security risk in TikTok? Yeah. President Biden on TikTok. Boyd's got the scoop on that next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. An 18-year-old and 3 minors got arrested in Millard County. Highway Patrol says they found drugs and weapons in their vehicle. That's according to court documents in the St. George News. The items include what officers called a large machete, mushrooms, 3,500 marijuana vape pen cartridges. A group of people, including teachers, held a sit-in at Utah State Capitol last night to protest school board member Natalie Klein's bid for re-election. They want lawmakers to amend a bill to impeach Klein so she can't run again for a school board position. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden's brother James is testifying behind closed doors on Capitol Hill this morning as part of the impeachment inquiry by House Republicans. ABC's Catherine Falders tells us what the Republicans are expected to ask.
They're going to focus on the money, on certain payments that they've alleged were specifically to benefit the Biden brand. But I think it's worth pointing out that there have been other witnesses who have come forward, who have spoken to the committee, who have refuted these allegations.
Your money at this moment, the Dow and the NASDAQ both running below where they started today. And our KSL weather will be drying out for a day or two before another storm comes in. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Grab your family and some gear and head to the 2024 Skijoring the Bear exhibition in Garden City on Friday, February 23rd. Bring your skis and join the race, or attend as a spectator to watch horses pull skiers through a course with jumps. Race divisions include Open, Novice, and Rookie, with buckles and cash prizes for the division winners. Everyone can enjoy food trucks, vendors, and more. Skijoring the Bear in Garden City, just west of Heritage Park. Helmets are required for skijoring, and you need to bring your own skis. Kids 10 to 12 are free. Great lodging deals can be found at bearlake.org. Attend this exhibition event on Friday, February 23rd to see or experience the excitement of skijoring. Visit skijoringthebear.com for more information. skijoringthebear.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash in Roy. This is going to be blocking a few lanes of traffic. Eastbound 1900 west at 5600 south. Weather-related issues are to the north, especially if you're going to be traveling Highway 8991 through the canyon, and that's leaving Brigham City from Manaway, really past Wellsville into the Logan area, but overall Valley Freeway traffic delay free. Tired of being a doorman for your furry friends? Say hello to Utah's own Pet Door Products. Their pet doors are energy efficient, weatherproof, and secure. Visit www.petdoorproducts.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Showers continue through the day today, then will dry out toward the weekend. Look for more rain and possibly snow early next week. Right now, 43 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Okay, Boyd Matheson with the inside scoop on what gives Mr. President Biden, making his TikTok debut just ahead of the Super Bowl. I actually kind of liked it. I liked it on what he said on TikTok. I thought it was kind of fun, but Dave's like, boo.
Game or commercials?
Game.
Game or halftime show?
Game.
Jason Kelsey or Travis Kelsey?
Mama Kelsey. I understand she makes great chocolate chip cookies.
Deviously.
Yeah, make great chocolate chip cookies.
All right, here are your options, Mr. President. You can either sit down with 60 Minutes and have an in-depth discussion that every president does every single Super Bowl, or you can start a TikTok account and talk about chocolate chip cookies.
Yes, but I want to be clear. Boyd, this is his campaign account because that needs that context. I think needs to happen because he has been outspoken about security issues surrounding TikTok and concerns, and so has Congress.
Yeah, no question about it. And to me, that's the most stunning part of this.
Yep.
Is how do you go from less than a year ago, the president making that formal declaration, no TikTok on any government phone. Of course, we've had that in states across the country as well. Governors have said no TikTok on any government phone.
And I think on federal phones,
Utah,
too,
Federal
as
phones.
well.
Exactly.
Can't have, so federally owned or paid for phones can't have TikTok.
Yeah, and so if that is a security risk, how all of the sudden is that okay for the president of the United States? Even though it's a campaign account, it's the company. The company is a Chinese-based, Chinese-owned company. The president was part of Congress calling for that to either be banned completely in the United States or divested, sold off to an American company if they wanted to do it that way. And so how do you make that giant leap from banning it, saying it should be out of the country altogether, to signing up and having your own account and launching it in front of the entire world on Super Bowl Sunday? And I'll give you a hint. It starts with an L. Lobbyists. Over $5 million in lobbying just spent over the last 6 months, lobbying the White House, members of Congress, and suddenly all of those who were so up in arms about it suddenly have seen cash go into where? Their campaign coffers. And suddenly, well, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe this is the president and the president's team saying, we just want to meet the young people where they are. And so the dollars and cents are clearly driving the decisions, not national security and what's in the best interest of the country.
This is what has always rings so hollow for me, is everybody, of the boomer generation, apologies, Mom, the boomer generation that is like, we're getting rid of TikTok, it's a security risk. I'm like, yeah, because you don't like it. As soon as you like it, as soon as you see value in it, as soon as you can profit from it in some way, now everybody's on board. Yeah. It's why it has felt so disingenuous because, listen, the younger generation, this is their app. They love it.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're on it, I don't care what your age is, you love it too because it is one of the greatest apps ever designed. Yeah. Is it a security risk? Fine.
Yeah.
But it feels so opportunistic.
It's definitely opportunistic. And the president needs younger voters. There's no question.
Yeah.
President Biden does not win re-election without getting the younger voters. So he is going to where they are. But again, between the lobbying and then you have to give TikTok credit too. They have gone out with a multimedia campaign that convinces you grandmas use TikTok, priests and none use TikTok.
They do.
And they do.
Yeah.
And so they're highlighting it as, oh, this is just this wonderful thing where everybody is and it's all up and up. It doesn't talk about the Chinese companies that are taking all of your information, that is serving everything up to you in terms of the algorithms and what is going on. And so suddenly we've lost track of all of those things that everybody was so worried about.
So I was on TikTok last night and I saw the algorithm fed me a Jimmy Fallon bit where he was imitating President Biden. And I think if you just talk about it as a campaign strategy, I mean, Biden responds.
Our Roman Empire is the Roman Empire. 'Cause I was there.
I'm always happy made fun of by America's most watched late night host. But if Colbert won't do it, you're fine too, Jimmy.
I mean, okay, that's kind of funny. And I actually didn't think the Jimmy Fallon bit was that funny when I watched it. So he got more bang for his buck too out of it. But we talk about, I'm just struggling to see, and I have for a long time, struggled to see why I think China, if they want our information, they're going to get to it. And I'm not. You guys Dave's on TikTok. Boyd, are you?
I'm not.
So what information are we giving them besides my email address and a couple of other and
which comedians I like to watch?
Honestly, that's what it is.
Everything you click on, everything you watch, all of that is going into their. The reason you're getting the algorithm served back to you is because they're they're tracking everything that
but
you're doing.
But everything I buy at the grocery store, when I put my phone number in, is also tracked. And I'm not saying they're doing anything weird with it. I don't know where that data is going because I don't have time to track where that data is going. Right. And guess what? I want the 10 cents off. Yeah. So I'm going to put my phone number in every time. Every time I shop at a Costco, they know exactly what I've bought. And I love Costco, and I just keep going back. And it was, it's China. Well, I don't know where my data is going. I can't say for sure. It's not going to Mexico or Nigeria. Yeah. I don't know.
But with TikTok, we do know where it's going. And it is going to the CCP. They own the business. And so it's very clear where the data is going. What they're doing with it all, we don't know exactly. Although if you go back through the last 2 campaign cycles in terms of China interference and what they've tried to do in terms of misinformation, disinformation, it's just one of those things where I think we have to. We can say, okay, it's fine. Look, everybody hated Facebook when it first came out, and then President Obama made it cool, and everybody jumped on board, and it was cool. But I think we have to be very careful in terms of how we go about this and why we go about it. If we're just following it because it's fun and it's cool and it's hip and I don't really care because everybody's got my information anyway, that's one thing. But let's not remember there were months of hearings in Congress about the security issues. That's reality. That's stuff going on in the SCIF and in things in terms of present dangers. And so let's not just dismiss it as this was a fun thing to do.
And I appreciate you reminding us of that because that storyline has gone away.
It's gone exactly. And that's
I also appreciate your point though too to say, in the President Biden situation where he jumps on TikTok, it seems like rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
Where he's already spoken out against his national security concerns about it.
And so to me, it's got to be, what is just being opportunistic and what's going to be helpful to you politically, as opposed to what really is a national security concern. And the one thing we have to remember is places like China, they always count on the American people losing interest. It's the same thing that Vladimir Putin counts on every day, that the United States will lose interest in Ukraine, that will lose interest in TikTok, that will lose interest in these other companies that are doing things inside the United States, whatever it may be. And so it's that portion of the program that I think we have to be really careful of because thugs, bad guys, and dictators always count on the short attention span of members of Congress and the American people. And that's how they continue to influence what we're thinking, the division that continues to drive our political conversation. Don't think for a minute that's not part of what's happening on TikTok and a host of other apps.
Boyd, thank you for joining us, Boyd Matheson. Today, Inside Sources starts at 1. This KSL preview is brought to you by Window World. Replace your windows and doors without the hassle or baloney. Call Window World of Utah today.
Great stuff, Boyd. As always, bringing the best hits, the greatest hits. Straight ahead, the Utah lawmaker behind a nearly $1 billion price tag proposal to build the new ballpark in Utah joining us. And if you missed our chatter about this earlier in the show, let's give you a little bit of a hint. This has to do with a new tax. We'll give you the rest of the information straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
For John's 60th birthday, his family planned to drive down Old Route 66. But the trip took a detour when his wife got sick with RSV. It's a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems and hospitalizations.
This year, we don't want to cancel our plans. We're protecting ourselves with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine.
Abrysvo, a vaccine to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. It's not for everyone and may not protect all who receive it. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had an allergic reaction to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may decrease your response. Most common side effects are tiredness, headache, injection site pain, and muscle pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
The last thing you want in the morning is more noise.
The day's just getting started. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, and it's not even 8 yet.
So catching up on important news stories, some sense of weather and traffic, it shouldn't be stressful.
Get a wrap on the day ahead from smart, inviting voices who know you're trying to ease in.
Do you love a rainy day?
I do, actually.
I do too.
Tim and Amanda, mornings from 5 to 9. They have you covered on KSL News Radio.
How much is your health worth? I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I thought about it a few years ago before I lost the weight with Soda Weight Loss. And I thought, man, if I just lose some weight, that would help with so many other things. Because my doctor had talked to me about how instead of taking a pill for cholesterol and everything else, why not try to lose weight? Well, I did. I finally did with Soda Weight Loss. They made it easy to lose weight and to address my health issues. I feel so much better. I feel healthier, and I can do so much more. And I'm not the only one. Here, for example, this is John.
Well, my diabetes A1C was 5.89, 6 point something. And when I went back, I was at 4.9. Joint mobility is so much better.
There is no part of your health that's not going to improve when you lose weight. Soda will get you there. And here's the best part, keep you there for the rest of your life. Go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is state of the art.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-530-9353. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-530-9353. That's 800-530-9353. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
There are 2 amazing productions, very different productions, on the stages right now at Hale Center Theater. One is Clue, that I thoroughly enjoyed. It is a madcap comedy, and as I mentioned, it has the greatest death scene I have ever seen on the stage. Then down the hall in the theater in the round, it's Fiddler on the Roof. It is breathtaking. You are going to love both productions that are underway right now at Hale Center Theater, but there's so much more to come. May We All, a country musical, is coming up next. Then The Time Machine, The Nutty Professor, The Addams Family, which is wonderful, and The Magician's Elephant Plus. The season wraps up just before the Christmas production of A Christmas Carol, Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Get your tickets now. Go to hct.org. And be sure to pick up gift cards, too. They're perfect just to slip in a thank you card. Go to hct.org.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Palmas. First, a demonstration at Utah State Capitol yesterday demanded lawmakers do more to remove Natalie Klein from the State Board of Education. Second, employees of a Starbucks store in Sandy have rejected union representation. And third, President Biden's brother testified behind closed doors in the congressional impeachment inquiry into the president. Right now, 43 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Let's fly on up to Capitol Hill.
Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We've got a new development in the story we were talking about earlier in the show. In a moment, we're going to have the lawmaker call us, probably on Capitol Hill right now, regarding this announcement that has to do with a proposal on Capitol Hill to increase the hotel tax. What would that be used for? To help bring a baseball stadium to a Major League Baseball stadium near downtown Salt Lake City, a stadium, a project that was announced last year by Gail Miller.
Our coalition, called Big League Utah, has registered our intent to have Utah's capital city considered as an expansion market with Major League Baseball.
Now, every sports team in America has fights with their city about an arena, a stadium, a football field, whatever it might be. Everybody fights about this because nobody wants to pay for it. The owners don't want to pay for it. The city doesn't want to pay for it. No one wants to pay for it. But everyone agrees they want the football team or the baseball team or the hockey league. They want a team in their city. So this is where you're starting to hash out the details.
Representative Ryan Wilcox live on the line with us. You calling up us from Capitol Hill, Representative?
I am. I just stepped off the floor. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So you're on the House floor. It's floor time right now. We won't keep you long, but super interested in the details of this legislation. I love sticking it to the tourists when we can. But walk us through that component of the hotel tax.
Well, it's not a hotel tax. It is the transient room tax, which is primarily paid through hotel stays. And that part is true, and that's by design. Where this is a tourism benefit and a lift, that is where that burden would lie rather than on most Utahns. There's also a 0.10% increase. So there's two parts to that. It's 1.6 total. So 1.6 or $1.50 on $100 will go to this project only if Utah is granted a major league franchise. We sign a franchise agreement, then that would kick in for the funding of the stadium. A 0.10% increase of that, so the rest of that 1.6 will go into effect immediately for rural EMS. What we've run into with that is existed really in rural Utah right now, especially in our search and rescue. Most of those guys are volunteer, but we are constantly rescuing travelers from out of state who come in to enjoy our beautiful assets and get lost or get themselves into trouble. And it's really been a burden on our local sheriff's offices, our local search and rescue teams, and they've been asking for some help with that. And we felt like that was appropriate to be able to increase that portion of that transit room tax, which again is primarily garnered from travelers to the state of Utah to help pay for their rescue when they need that.
Huh.
So that's that portion of the TRT bill.
I was surprised at how little was being charged here in Utah because I guess one of my experiences is Las Vegas. And they hit you with 37 different, TRT taxes, a resort fee, and then all of a sudden that $29 a room per night is like $150.
Right. Yes. That 29 looks really good when you first see it on Priceline.
Yeah, exactly. But this is, you're sounding like this is going to go to about $1.50 per $100 spent, in a hotel room for a night.
Right. Right.
But that is for everybody. So those in Duchesne and Carbon County and Washington County,
sure.
I wonder how they feel about sending all that money to a Salt Lake baseball team.
Well, I suppose that those who visit those counties would help contribute to the state asset that we're talking about here. There's also some unique, in addition to the rural EMS funding. Really, you notice it's called the Fair Park Area Investment and Restoration District. We have struggled for years to figure out how to best preserve and take care of that property. Which is primarily exists to focus on our agricultural heritage, our pioneer heritage. It exists in Salt Lake City because we feel like that's where Utah comes together. That's where it needs to exist. And so, 10 years ago when I was here, we were talking about eliminating the Fair Park here in Salt Lake because it just didn't pencil. It didn't make money. It costs a lot of money every year. And we didn't know how to preserve those historic buildings appropriately. And we've made a lot of progress in that area. But what this really does is allows us to lift that entire area. If we're going to invest here, that state asset that we would be, again, spending state dollars on in the hundreds of millions of dollars if we were to do this through regular appropriations to take care of it. We have a mechanism with this to enhance that asset that does sell for rural Utah. It does help to promote agriculture and that cultural heritage, but it also allows us to build up that community in general, to promote local business in a way that we just haven't been able to do before.
Representative,
unfortunately, that area has been in trouble for a while.
Yeah, I drove through it not too long ago, and it just. I'm hopeful that it can be revitalized. Representative Ryan Wilcox, live from Capitol Hill. He's just stepped off the House floor to talk to us. I want to ask you real quickly, I know your time is short, Representative. Have you spoken to the governor about this plan? Because the governor has been outspoken about not raising taxes, yet this is what your plan would do. What does he say to you about this?
Yes, we've been in consultation with the governor's office, with the cities that are involved, the counties, of course, throughout this entire process. And so we all understand what we're looking at. To the extent that we have anything at risk, we want to make sure that that's not at risk in the long term, meaning we've negotiated ownership of the stadium itself, the stadium land. We would put in less than half of the project cost to build the stadium, for example, but we would retain full ownership of the property once it's built, meaning we would have an instant nearly $1 billion in equity in the project. And then we've written in protections so that nothing happens without, that franchise agreement being signed. And if they move at any point, then they are required to immediately pay back anything that was raised.
So the state would be the owner of the stadium.
That's correct.
All right.
And we would have the additional investment into the fair park itself, preserving it for the long term. And another thing, I don't know if you guys have been down to San Antonio and seen the River Walk.
Yep.
Our river that runs through it is actually much cooler than that one down there, and has never quite been leveraged properly. You look at the website at bigleagueutah.com, you'll be able to see some of the design ideas there. But we're envisioning a river walk right here next to downtown, between the airport and downtown, that will easily rival and be able to preserve that area, anything else that we've seen in the country as far as that kind of an asset that we haven't been able to leverage in the past. Well, we're excited about what it does for water quality, for tourism, of course, but as well as what it does for the local community there.
For sure.
And
wow.
I guess coincidentally enough, San Antonio is also one of those cities that is up for Major League Baseball expansion. It's one that we're competing against.
Here that they might be interested. Yeah.
But our new river walk
to the
is
ESPN
cool.
article yesterday that said that 1 and 2 spot was Salt Lake and Nashville.
Oh, you saw that where?
Throwing that out there.
Where did you say?
You want to look at ESPN, Jeff
Passan.
Yeah.
Oh,
a number
awesome.
of those. Yeah.
Well, obviously, you
Baseball
sound like
insiders have definitely taken notes.
All right, so you're obviously a baseball fan then.
Yeah, very much so. I think that might be why I have this assignment.
Well, you have the assignment. That's right. Figure it out.
Just officially, I'd like to say I fully support all taxes to bring in a Major League Baseball stadium, especially a Debbie Dujanovic specific tax. I go ahead and raise that to 50%. Do not care. Whatever it takes to get baseball here.
All right, Representative Ryan Wilcox, just at the plate, knocked it out of the park for us here on the Dave and Dujanovic Show, gave us the scoop on what could lie ahead if his proposal makes it through Capitol Hill. It sounds like he's been doing his homework, and we'll have to follow this. But Dave, your takeaway?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. Obviously, I am completely blinded by this. I'm not thinking rationally, so I'm going to have to abdicate, pass on this vote because Dave is just a rubber stamp at this point.
Well, I'm a big baseball fan. I'd be super excited for it. But he also had me when he said we're going to have a river walk. We're going to have, if this goes through, a river walk in the Salt Lake City area. Sign me up.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah State Senate being asked to determine whether a government employee's daily calendar is a public record.
For those that believe that we're somehow changing the law, I would proffer to the committee that this is clarifying what the longstanding interpretation and practice of the law has been.
That's Republican Senator Kurt Bramble, who says daily calendars are already protected under state law. He wants to make sure that's clear after the State Records Committee ordered Utah's Attorney General to open his calendar to a KSL investigation. An appeal against that order is scheduled for next week. Employees at a Starbucks store in Sandy voted 6-5 against union representation. A news release from Starbucks PR firm says the company says they welcome the opportunity to continue working directly with employees. Several other Starbucks stores around the Wasatch Front have voted to unionize. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A robotic lunar lander is headed for a planned touchdown on the moon tomorrow, while a French-made satellite launched back in 1995 expected to plunge back into the Earth's atmosphere today. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
Now, almost 29 years after it was launched, the satellite is coming down. Scientists think it'll burn up in the upper atmosphere, but that any surviving parts are likely to fall into the South Pacific. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average and the NASDAQ both down on the day so far. And our KSL weather looks like things are going to dry out for a day or two, and then we'll see another storm move in. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I am losing weight on SLC Fat Loss. Salt Lake City Fat Loss is the program that I joined about 3 weeks ago, and the results have been fantastic. I've been kind of struggling with my weight for a lot of years. That's not a big surprise to anyone that knows me. But it was stopping me from doing the things and living the life that I wanted to live. So I decided, you know what, I've got to crack down. I've got to do something and get serious about this, because I've tried it in the past. I've tried to lose weight in the past, and I have been ineffective. I've gone up and down, but this plan with SLC Fat Loss has been phenomenal. It's held my hand through the entire process, and I've lost in just over 3 weeks over 25 pounds. No surgery, no injections, no point counting, no exercising, no prepackaged meals. So I'm actually learning skills, how to eat healthy, portion control. And every single day, they send me something to remind me, to encourage me, to help me along the path. So if you're interested, go to slcfatloss.com. You can schedule your free consultation there. You can do it in person or virtually, or give them a call. 801-450-1882, 801-450-1882.
Are you stressing about your IRS tax problems? Have you received notices from the IRS threatening to garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or seize your property? You need an ally. Allies Tax Relief has tax attorneys and enrolled agents that are ready to fight for you. They have saved millions for taxpayers just like you. Allies Tax Relief can help put a stop to IRS collections and, most importantly, negotiate your tax debt. Here's Brenda, a happy client of Allies Tax Relief.
I owed the IRS around $57,000, and they're about to start garnishing my paychecks. I heard a commercial on the radio about Allies Tax Relief, so I thought I'd give them a call. After a day, they were able to at least stop the garnishments, and after a few months of negotiations, I walked away owing the IRS only $301.
If you owe the IRS, call Allies Tax Relief right now for your free consultation. Call 800-230-5174. 800-230-5174. That's 800-230-5174.
Asante came to TurboTax after graduating from culinary school and landing a job in the hottest kitchen in town.
My hands are full all day, every day. I love it.
Asante, as your TurboTax expert, I'll make your moves count, guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and your maximum refund. Sound good?
Yes, expert!
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
If you only have a 401k, you're not getting the most for retirement.
Wait, what?
Add a Robinhood IRA on top, then they'll boost it by 3%.
You can do that?
And if you transfer in any retirement account, you get 3% on top of that.
Is there a limit to the match?
No limit. Robinhood Gold gets you the biggest contribution match of any IRA on the market. Sign up for Robinhood Gold at Robinhood.com/boost by April 30th. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Match on transfers subject to additional terms and conditions. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Freeway traffic in good shape, but problems on the side streets. We have a crash in West Valley, not far from Bangor, 3500 south, 3600 west. On the east side of the valley, a crash at 3500 east, about 3700 south. That's Wasatch Boulevard. And then an accident at 3rd West, about 2500 south. With fresh snow comes fresh tracks at Murdoch Chevrolet. Right now receive 2.9% for 6 years on Silverado. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, showers continuing through the day today, then will dry out toward the weekend. Look for more rain and possibly snow early next week. Right now, 41 degrees with showers in Salt Lake. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Dave and I following up right now on what has become a shocking, a sad, and really a story that's been happening in Tooele over the last couple of days that puts us in new territory. When we learned yesterday that a 9-year-old had been arrested in connection with a shooting death investigation of a 32-year-old man in Tooele. And we learned this morning with the help of our KSL legal analyst who joined us in the 9 o'clock hour, Greg Skordas, that our read of Utah law says a 9-year-old can't be held criminally responsible. He's too young. We know that Tooele police have told us, because they told us this on the record, Dave, and on camera yesterday, that this is new territory for them too, and they are proceeding with caution. And certainly everybody in the community is shocked.
A situation like this where you have one family member potentially being killed by another, you don't lose just that one family member, you lose two family members.
9 years old is shocking. It's shocking to talk about a 9-year-old and homicide in the same sentence. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. But when you say he's too young and that he can't be held criminally responsible, well, technically, a 16-year-old is too young to be tried as an adult. But we do make exceptions. We make exceptions for minors, and that's what a 16 or 17 or 15-year-old is. It's a minor. But there are times when prosecutors will try them as adults, and they will get adult prison sentences.
I don't think that can happen in this case. So here's the twist that we learned through our analysis this morning of Utah law. A 9-year-old cannot be held criminally responsible under the law. The law says anyone under the age of 14 cannot be held criminally responsible. And Greg joined us in the 9 o'clock hour to walk us through this. So what you're talking about is, let's say, a 16-year-old shoots and kills some of his family members. Horrible scenario. We've certainly covered those situations here before. And what will happen is that prosecutors might be able to look at a case of a 16, 17-year-old, 15-year-old. I don't know off the top of my head the exact verbiage in the law, and say, they acted in such a way that we can put them into the adult court system. We can put them through the adult courts, which are far different than juvenile courts. But in this case, because this child is under 14 years old, there are options, but that option does not include throwing him in an adult jail.
Yes.
Throwing him in an adult prison, and throwing him into an adult-sized courtroom here in downtown Salt Lake City. But I also want to be clear here, very, very clear. We don't know the why behind this. And that is important to keep reminding our listeners and ourselves. We don't know the why, and the why is so critical in this.
It's so critical because they're being so tight-lipped. We don't know if this 9-year-old was mentally challenged, if it was a self-defense situation, if it was intentional and vicious, or if it was an accident. We don't know any of those things. But when we hear from the police, and they are using the words like homicide with this 9-year-old, then that's where we need to start looking at it and having a very difficult conversation about, okay, if that is the case, if they can prove that to be the case, then what do we do about this?
What we also don't know is where he got the gun. We don't know how many shots were fired because the police are not releasing that information. Through the work of our colleagues at KSL 5 Television, we have learned that when they've talked to neighbors, the neighbors have said this is a father and a son situation. And you asked Greg Skordas earlier in the show. Greg is a former prosecutor. He's now a defense attorney. He is a crime analyst, a legal analyst here for us at KSL News Radio and KSL Television. So you asked him, if this wasn't an accident, then what?
We understand, and if you're a parent, you know that a 9-year-old certainly has a different mindset, a different idea of right and wrong than a 19-year-old. And so we treat them differently in our system. That's why you can't charge them criminally, because they just don't have that kind of maturity and development in their mental state to appreciate always the consequences of their conduct. I know some people are probably rolling their eyes right now, but really there's probably no state in the country that would allow for a 9-year-old to be prosecuted criminally. It just doesn't happen. That being said, the question always remains now, what do you do? What do you do with a 9-year-old? Well, he can be adjudicated in the juvenile court. They can take him into custody, which they've done already, and perhaps even put him in some level of detention or secure confinement. But that'll end when he's 18 or maybe at the very, very most when he's 21.
Incredible to think. As he said those ages, like he could be in confinement or detainment until his 21st birthday. I mean, that is 11 years from now.
Well, he would certainly be on the very, very younger end of that. I mean, we don't even have 9-year-olds in our detention facility that you can think of. I mean, and it would be tough for a 9-year-old because there are, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and they could be a bad influence on him. They could be a problem for him. So it may be some secure care where he's mostly alone, or maybe even something like a home detention, ankle monitor, that type of thing. And we don't know. Or he may need some level of hospitalization given that age and, counseling that he might need. Who knows what's going on in his head right now and what's going to be the best for him and for society.
And again, Debbie, we don't know what would happen. If worst case scenario, this were some sort of a murder, what the punishment would look like. But again, let me just go back. You had mentioned we've seen scenarios where a teen kills his family. I remember the Grantsville teen that was 16 years old.
Tooele County.
That killed his mother, his 3 siblings. He was sentenced to 100 years in prison. So again, we need to figure out, what would be appropriate for this 9-year-old, because this is something I never thought we'd ever have to address. My mind couldn't even get there, but we've got to figure out the details because as a community, as a state, we need to know, okay, the unlikely, the unthinkable has happened. Now, what is fair?
You cannot possibly judge what's appropriate or not appropriate for the 9-year-old, for this 9-year-old, until you know the why. And I want to remind you, we may find out details, but we're not guaranteed that same type of disclosure that we are when adults are charged or adults are brought into custody. This is a juvenile. We may never know.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Senate Bill 210 is a medical emergency at the Utah legislature. Ophthalmologists and optometrists are not the same. Optometrists don't complete medical school, no hospital internship, and no surgical residency. Ophthalmologists are medical doctors with years of surgical training on real patients. Now, optometrists want to perform surgery using lasers on the only eyes you'll ever have. Optometrists are not medical doctors, yet they want Senate Bill 210 to suddenly make them surgeons. Does that make sense to you? Your state legislator can help stop this nonsense by voting no. It takes years of training to make a surgeon. No bill can ever change that. Your legislator can help stop this nonsense. Tell your legislator to keep Utah eyes safe.
Paid for by the Utah Ophthalmology Society.
They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. You may not have that kind of time for weatherization, energy efficiency, and appliance rebates, but we do. Dominion Energy's ThermWise program has experts who know where and how to save money. They help homeowners and businesses find simple ways to conserve natural gas and rebates through upgrades that may help to save even more. We put our energy into helping you conserve it, so you can spend your 10,000 hours becoming an expert in what matters to you. Start with a home energy plan at thermwise.com.
Okay, that's good. Whoa, Dave!
Sorry, I'll go grab some paper towels. You can't let Dave pour things. He works at JCW's. They fill stuff up past the brim over there, like their milkshakes. They're thick, rich, and oh my gosh.
Delicious?
Oh no, Dave's filling up Crystal's car for her.
Dave, stop!
Hey, this is Clark for JCW. Stop into any of our 5 locations today. We're located in American Fork, Thanksgiving Point, Provo, South Jordan, and our new location in Harriman. Come in and see why at JCW's we believe in quality and a lot of it.
Do you hear that? If you're like many people, that's the sound of your money. Just lying there in a checking or savings account doing nothing when it could be out there earning more money for you. But at America First Credit Union, we can give your money a wake-up call.
What? What's that?
Rise and shine, Bucky. We can get your money working in a high-yield certificate account, earning you a much better return than traditional checking and savings. Up and at 'em, buddy. We gotta go.
Huh? Where are we going?
To America First. You'll love it there. They're gonna help you do so much awesome stuff.
All right, I'm coming.
So get your money working with a high-yield certificate from America First. Head to americafirst.com today to check out the latest amazing rates. Subject to membership, eligibility, terms, conditions, and change. Federally insured by NCUA.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Game On Sports for Girls is an organization committed to empowering young girls through sports with unique programming and passionate role models. Owner Alyssa Brock joins us with more.
Game On has spent years devoted to inspiring girls through its proven teaching methods and spirited traditions. Name a sport, we play it. We know that learning the right way, understanding a sport, and having fun while doing it leads to increased confidence and the ability to enjoy sports for a lifetime. If you are looking for the best summer yet for your daughter, look no further. We offer a 6-week-long summer day camp that teaches the fundamentals of sports, including soccer, softball, volleyball, basketball, lacrosse, flag football, yoga, pickleball, tennis, and martial arts. Our locations include Park City, Heber City, as well as our newest camp in Kaysville. Ages are 4 through 14, and all camps run Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., with registration opening in March and April. We make sure that each girl leaves camp feeling strong in body, strong in mind, and strong in team. Game On!
Game On Sports for Girls empowers girls for life. To learn more about year-round programming opportunities and registration, visit their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think.
All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the bill to make the appointment calendars of state officials public moving through the state Senate. Second, a man accused of killing 2 little boys while driving drunk back in court today. And third, a French satellite launched in 1995, about ready to come back to Earth, way out over the ocean. Right now, 41 degrees with showers in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I woke up this morning and I realized that we're basically like the landing pad for all things falling from the sky that have to do with space. Thanks to the West Desert, the Utah Test and Training Range, it is happening again today.
It makes so much more sense than dropping it in the middle of the ocean and trying to find somebody. Like, let's land it in the middle of a big, ginormous desert. That makes a lot more sense. It's not washing away at that point.
I found this out when I listened to this morning to Utah's Morning News, and KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson talked about the space capsule that's falling into the Utah West Desert today.
Co-founder of Varda Space Industries, Dalian Asbruoff, says the area west of Salt Lake City has just the right conditions for landing a space capsule.
And as we were debating sort of where was the best location for reentry, that it turned out that basically, Salt Lake City ended up being the sort of right place to do that because there is this sort of Utah Test and Training Range.
This isn't the first time we've had a landing at the Utah Test and Training Range. Back in 2004, NASA's spacecraft Genesis landed here. Asbruoff is also excited to be back here as a former student at West High. Britt Johnson, KSL News Radio.
So when your kids are complaining about math class and they don't want to do math class and I'll never use this, no. You drop something out of space and you land it in Utah exactly where you want. That's why you need the maths, kid. That's why you need the math. Adam Small joins us right now. Adam, whoo.
It's a team report. We got the whole staff on this, Dave.
We're all about dropping stuff in the middle of the desert. Okay, so what's landing?
So it's a space capsule carrying, according to space.com, I had to look this up, it's carrying crystals of ritonavir. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. So it's quoting an antiviral drug used to treat HIV and hepatitis C. So basically, this company Varda Space Industry, they're trying to develop pharmaceuticals in space because some of the conditions are more favorable, like conditions are favorable for landing stuff in the West Desert. So.
Yeah, it's perfect conditions because there's no gravitational pull. I think things don't clump together because we don't have all the same forces in space that we have on planet Earth. You're welcome. I know Dave's looking at me like, how do you know this? I read the article today.
I do chemistry.
I love chemistry. I'm fascinated by this because let's not forget that just like a couple of months ago, last September, we had the return of Osiris.
Osiris Rex.
Osiris Rex.
In just a few moments, we should enter into special use airspace at approximately 8:46 a.m. That's going to be at 10 miles off the deck here at Utah Test and Training Range.
SRC has touchdown.
And touchdown of the Osiris Rex sample return capsule. A journey of 1 billion miles to asteroid Bennu and back has come to an end.
And now you were there for that, right, Adam?
Yeah, that was easily one of the most fun stories I've ever done as a reporter. Going down to Dugway and actually, now they wouldn't let us onto the secure part of the airfield where we could actually see the capsule come down, but we're right there with all of these space geniuses from all around the country watching this monumental moment happen. That was super cool to be a part of.
Is there an indication or a sense that this is going to become the regular landing pad?
Well, for Varda, it's not necessarily. I saw in the space.com article that they've actually been considering potentially looking into landing capsules in Australia, but I don't know if that's maybe just chatter.
I mean, come on.
But landing capsules in Utah is actually not a new thing. Like, for example, Osiris Rex, that was the third major NASA mission to land in Dugway. In 2004, there was actually the NASA Genesis mission that landed in Dugway, brought back solar wind samples. And also in 2006, Stardust brought back samples from a comet. Osiris Rex was the third major mission to land here.
And if you've ever driven out to Wendover, past Tooele, past the McDonald's out there in the Urda exit or whatever, and you know what the West Desert looks like. It's not much different when you get to Dugway Proving Ground. I spent a lot of time in the 90s at Dugway Proving Ground. I can't tell you why. No, I was a news reporter. Everybody's like, wow, that's
aliens.
super cool. And I've been out there several times since. And then when you get to the West Desert, then that area out there, there's plenty of open space. And also the Utah Test and Training Range is out in that facility. That's where Harrah Air Force Base trains and fighter jets. Been out there lots too. And that is it's just open land,
Right,
lots of dirt.
Right, exactly. So it's not just like favorable like weather and land conditions where like you have plenty of open space. It's not going to land on I-15 and someone's going to run over like a multi-million-dollar project or whatever. You have this control, but it's controlled. When you land it out in Dugway, you have the military literally watching it from point of entry all the way to touchdown, and that's why that area just works so well for missions like this. Now, I don't know if any future NASA missions are planning to land something in Dugway, but like it's happened 3 times. It could easily happen again. NASA has a great relationship with them, and who knows, maybe Varda will choose to land more of their missions in Dugway.
Another layer to this that I find fascinating is the fact that these are private companies, and it's becoming far more common for private companies to shoot something up into space and to bring it back, whether it's SpaceX with Elon Musk or it's Richard Branson. I mean, this is becoming far more common. It's not just the government sending missions and research up into space. This is happening from private companies.
And the spokesperson did say, Varda said this about maybe more reentries into Utah in the future.
Where this initial approval that we got from UTTR was for a single operation. We hope that it's successful and that we can basically grow this partnership with them, and ideally sort of do more of this over time. It's not to say that every landing is going to be happening there, but we hope that this isn't our last landing in Utah.
UTTR meaning Utah Test and Training Range, so they've got a partnership with them, or they've got a cooperative working arrangement with them. Do we know when this thing's going to come down? Because that's really all I care about, Adam. Tell me when.
We've been looking all over for it, and I can't find it.
You don't know? Is that super secret, or you just think it just has the time hasn't been published?
I would imagine they might be keeping it hush-hush. Because, for example, we knew when OSIRIS-REx was going to land because it was super popular, but also they invited the media out there to be there. This seems like a lot more secure operation. So I'm imagining it's under wraps, but I've looked everywhere. If I find it, I'll let you know.
OSIRIS-REx didn't have like this big, it wasn't like a meteor coming in, was it? Like a big bright light that you could see? It just kind of snuck its way in?
I mean, it was a little bright. It definitely got pretty charred up at the end. So, I mean, it started out pretty bright, but ended very charred.
There we go. Adam Small, thanks for joining us.
Great stuff, Adam. Thank you so much. I think it's probably one of the most fascinating stories of the day, at least for me. Let me know if you find out what time it is. I want to put my eyes to the sky. Maybe Maria Chaleos will have that information for us. You got the top secret timeline? Okay, Maria's up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit